Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to be here with you guys tonight. I just had to make sure I was muted on the other screen and not this one. The other screen plays audio. It cuts my voice on this one. I don't know if you guys ever noticed that. Anyway, I want to state this. I have revamped the everything you see. Okay. So the cool thing is I basically remodeled everything. Even the background is now revamped, a little bit more pristine. You're also going to see all the icons that everything we have are now in HD. All the thumbnails that come out in the future from here on out are all in HD. I finally got a really awesome program that's an all-in-one that gives me everything I need. And yeah, I was just really happy about it. Anyway, tonight's headlines is going to be an intro / deep dive into Flare. And you may be wondering, why is that? I just want to state this. We all want to buy the bottom. As of 5 hours ago, we are at the all-time lows for Flare. And you may be wondering, why the heck would I want to jump into that? We'll get into that outline here in a bit. And then after that, for the night, we'll get into some Quant. If you thought that last particular deep dive about Quant and Aladdin and BlackRock was big, this might very well top it. Thank you to Quant Papa for providing a lot of detailed research that's going to be shared tonight. Let's go ahead and welcome all you guys that are here. Please smash that like. It's going to be a great show, and I'm looking forward to doing it. All right. I'm going to start off with the first comment of the day. It comes from the one and only Tim Shea, who sprays from far away. He says, "Hey, good to see you, Mr. Tim Shea, the mayor of crypto, the crypto commissioner representing the 589th district of the XRP Army and his fellow constituents. Always glad to see you, my friend." We also have Brittany with the sideways action. Boom. Good to see you, Ms. Brittany, always. Dingy, aka Daniel. Good to see you. He says, "Nice Sony Honda video." Thank you. Yeah, I did thank you earlier. That's right. Yeah, $17 gets mentioned. Do we have something in regards to, like, how can we get to that? And basically, I felt as though that kind of explains how we get to that. I mean, Tesla basically did it. What about the Sony car? I mean, I know I saw some guy says I'm delusional, and I basically came back with a legitimate question. I said, this is a legitimate question. Did you just look at the thumbnail and dismiss the information? Am I correct? You probably did that. Most likely. I haven't heard a response, but anyway, it is what it is. And we're not trying to convince everybody. People will see it. They don't. It's just information. None of it's financial advice, right? All right, let's see here. Achman's in the house with the greatest avatar in all of crypto. Look at that. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be on merch someday. It has to be. Anyway, yes. Hello, Achman. Glad to have you. When Moon. Smash the like. Thank you very much. Please smash the like, guys. It does help. We are currently at 17 likes, and I think we have 17 people basically watching tonight. So, cool stuff. All right, welcome back, Uncle Thursday. Cool, man. I'm glad to see you again. Always puts a smile on my face to see longtime supporters, come back. What's up, everyone? What's up? Good to see you, man. Good to see you, Uncle Thursday. All right, let's read this also. Dingy states he wonders when Sony will whisper JASMY name as partners. So far, it's been in the background, hidden behind the pillow. I hope the migration goes well. If they F it up, it's over for them. Okay. Dingy, they are smart and will do their best to honor their holders. I mean, my thing is, yeah, I mean, these guys, why would you want to leave a legacy behind of a scam? That just doesn't make any sense. Like, I mean, the way I look at it is, let's say I'm like the grandson of Kunio-Taki Ando. It's like, oh, look at Grandpa Ando. Oh, so honorable. Look at all the time he spent at JASMY. Many, many years. He make us proud. Oh, he shared stage with, Steve Jobs. Oh, very, very proud. Oh, what happened here? Oh, he put a scam. Oh, like, not cool, right? Like, not cool at all. Max, why do you do that voice? I can't, If Hara can do Let's Go, I can do that, right? We're all good sports, right? Anyway, Anyway, let's see here. A few more. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Anyway, going further down, Uncle Thursday. I wonder if the chaos in the world means we are close. Creates that much more demand for crypto. I mean, it's sad. Don't get me wrong, but it does create more demand. And even in the past, during the time at the height of COVID, for crying out loud, it just created that much more demand for crypto. Look how that turned out. Then G, close to Armageddon or the Great Reset, full speed. What if it's both? That'd be sad, right? Yeah. Digi, the only conflict missing is with China, and we are set for a wild time. More than. All right. Uncle Thursday says both the four horsemen seem to be on the way if this keeps escalating. Seems like it, right? There's a lot of indicators, especially if you obviously read the book of Revelation, so you're in the know. All right. Dingy, Israel, let it happen like the U.S. Okay. Well, you guys can have your political talk. That's okay. I mean, no disrespect. All right, let's see here. Let's go further down. We're gonna also welcome Patrick Collier. He says, "Yo, what up, fam? Good to see you, Mr. Patrick Collier, Stump Rider in the house. Hi, Max and Crypto fam. Thank you so much for being here. We also got the one only Mr. Brian Dowie. Good to see you, Brian. Always good to see you, man. Absolutely. Hopefully, I didn't skip anybody. Let's go further down into some more comments. GS is also in the house. XRP, excellent. XDC, HBAR on fire. And we also got Darren Crumblesome, Fluffy Fluff in the banana hammock. Sup, Max? How's your dad doing? Yesterday was the best day for him. His doctor came by earlier on the house call. His doctor's awesome. And yeah, he's slowly getting better day by day. I mean, it may seem like it takes forever to get him up and get him to bed, but it's the time that it takes is getting dramatically shorter. And he's improving and he's healing. So I'm trying my best to be there for my dad. You only get one dad. So, and he's old. He's 89. But thank you for asking, man. Appreciate that. All right. We got the one and only Elon Musk. He has provided some of the research that we have for you guys tonight in regards to Flare. You may be wondering why Flare and why now, right? That's a great question, but the bottom line is, I think all of us always want to try to buy the bottom if we can on anything. And yes, 5 hours ago is all-time lows. For some people, they're like, I don't even want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. If you understand opportunity, you might want to look into that. And that's just the way I look at it. I recently actually bought some Flare. I bought it on crypto.com. Why not? So it's not financial advice, guys. I will present it to you guys. You make a decision, do what you want to do. But I think there's a lot of upside potential for this, and we'll get into the specifics of why that is. Not just, hey, check out Flare because, no, not that way at all. You guys know me; I don't do that. Okay, I'm gonna go further down and welcome Mr. Terrell Milton T. Milton 30. Always looking great, right? Best looking beard in crypto. God knows mine ain't looking too good. Anyway, good to see you, man. He said, what up, Max Crypto fam? Appreciate you, man. Really do. Really appreciate you from the recorded, on the live. You DM me. You're awesome. Thank you for being here. Everybody, please welcome. Can we just tell them, you're Terrell, or you just want to be called T. Milton? Or maybe you're not even Terrell. Maybe you're Terrell. I don't know. Let us know how to pronounce it right. But whatever the case be, for now, T. Milton, good to see you, man. All right, we also got Bobby Loretti is also here. We're approaching about the 10-minute mark. We're going to get into the outline here in a bit. Just welcome a few more people. And he said, what up, Max and fam? I promise not to bust the gut, and ruin the last bit of the outline, right? That's crazy stuff. Anyway, by the way, I was talking to Mike Cornwell and a little bit of his, with his wife, April. Shout out to April, right? AKA, hey. And that is, should I do a blooper reel about what happened a few days ago? Would that hurt? And if anything, the people feels like, nah, man. I think people would appreciate, you're a human being and whatnot. And it was hysterical. I did watch the replay and I ended up busting it again. And yes, now I have stomach cramps. Anyway, shout out to anybody who saw that. I've been told that I have an infectious laugh that infects other people that makes them want to laugh. So I guess that's good, right? Yeah. Anyway, that's good stuff. All right, let's see here. Let's welcome Marcello Kufel Cormona or Cormonia. Hey, from Brazil. Hey, man. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. I have some friends that live in Brazil. I have a couple friends that live in, was it Sao Paulo, Brazil, and some other parts, basically. But they're good people, and I miss those guys. Anyway, good to see you, man. And welcome. Let's welcome Marcello. Hopefully that's how you pronounce it. Not Marcello, Marcello. If it is Marcello, let us know. We'll get it right. Promise. All right. See, this is what I love about community. Automatically, they know what to do. You know what I mean? Salomon, XCC Commander, welcome. Glad to have you. Just going to welcome a few more of you guys. Going to welcome the one only Corey Bibe, a.k.a. JASMY Not the Scam. All right. Good evening, everyone. And if JASMY hits $17, because obviously you watched the video earlier, I believe a lot of people will choose early retirement, including myself. No scam. Yeah, and come on, guys, that's just off of JASMY. I mean, do you think look at all the ones we have tagged here, right? All of them have solid utility, but some people are gonna say some are crap, and like one guy earlier made a reply saying algo is a complete scam and all. It's a difference of opinions. And so my thing is this: for every person that says this stuff is a scam, I think I'm gonna start challenging some of them. Like, all right, and in a polite way. I presented my material. How about you present some of your material to basically show why you believe it's a scam? I think I would become crickets, to be honest. But anyway, to teach us on. All right, let's go. Corey, I would be happy $1. All of us would be happy $1, right? And then some. All right, we're also going to welcome Crypto Info _DYOR. Please give him a follow over on his channel. Hopefully, you got some new subs, right? So, what's up, Max? Happy Columbus Day, or for some people, Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. It's Thanksgiving in Canada. Cool, man. I do remember that you guys do basically a month and a half in advance compared to us. But hey, Happy Thanksgiving to you in Canada. I would probably end up having a ramen noodle or something like that. I'm kidding. Or pizza or something. I don't know. I might do something. We'll see. Basically, if my dad put in requests like, oh man, I want turkey and all that, he's not a big fan of turkey, but we might do like a roast beef or something. I don't know. It'd be good. I make really good mashed potatoes and gravy. But anyway, yes, happy Thanksgiving to you, man. And thank you for dropping by, even on Thanksgiving, to watch the show. How cool are you to do that? Appreciate you. All right. Coinbase XRP glitch today was $22. Really? I didn't realize that. Awesome. Welcome back, Robert Williams. I'm also glad to see you again. Some of you guys who have been asking about Will Fix have been extremely busy the last day or so. So yesterday with church and all that, because he's associate pastor. But on top of that, today he said that he got a mountain full of receipts that he has to fill out or something like that, because spreadsheets and stuff. I think he was saying boring work that he doesn't like, but he looks forward to getting back. And says hello to all you guys. You definitely will be seeing more of Mr. Will Fix, right? Great positivity. All right. Just a couple more comments. Dwight Vontress is in the house. Welcome back. Glad to have you, Mr. Dwight Vontress. Like I said, you two look glowing. Very fit couple, right? I love that avatar. Anyway. Okay. So let's see here. Tim Shea. All right. Flare's great. I think there are more free airdrops left. And we'll get into some of the things in regards to airdrops. You like that comment earlier, T. Melton? That's good stuff. And speaking of, hey, there's April Cornwell. And I think that's just about it for the most part. Like, we're just going to double check some comments. I think we're good. Oh, of course, we're going to check a super chat. May have a, oh, God. Yeah, we'll chop up that blooper reel for you guys, and you can enjoy the hysteria. It was something else, man. It's like, may have a what? And then April's like, I can confirm it is true. Well, you're a married couple. Yes, that's good stuff. Anyway, enough about that, right? This is crazy stuff. I'm full of turkey sandwiches again. Yeah, I like it, man. A good old turkey sandwich, a little bit of mayo, salt and pepper. All right. Gobble, gobble. Now you guys are making me hungry. Anyway. It ain't going to work like that. It also means I had to have very, very little sleep, which I didn't get a lot. But anyway. All right. Guys, please smash that like. I don't know if you guys seen. Maybe it doesn't make. You may even notice it. So even in the background, it's just a little bit more sharper, a little more crisper. So welcome to Mr. Lambo's Crypto Talk. I'm going to show you some examples here real quick. This is cool. So basically everything we cover, I mean, to exception of Flare, I didn't get a chance to make one for Flare. But I'm going to show you just a quick thing real quick. So like Filecoin's got one, BSV, JASMY. See how like they're all in HD now? IOTA, Algorand's in HD. Casper, see April, got the flowers out for you. Hey, yes indeed. There we go. It's in HD. I'm just gonna show a couple more. Yep, that one. There's LCX. The next Air one kind of popped out pretty nice. XDC, not too bad. Look at this Stellar, right? I love this one. It blends in with the background. Even made that look a little bit better, right? Rocket Fuel, QNT. See the XRP one is now, see how it doesn't look faded because it was in standard definition? It is a lot better now. At some point when I cover this, I will fix that. That one's the standard definition. I forgot to do that one. Anyway, so hopefully you guys enjoy that. And then, like I said, yeah, thumbnails, all that stuff, all in HD. And, I was thinking, what if it's possible that YouTube says, you know what? A content creator that puts everything in HD, we will recommend his channel more compared to the ones that are in standard. I mean, I know it sounds like a crazy theory, but what if that's a possibility, right? Like, I don't want to be suppressed like that. All right, enough of me talking about some of this crazy stuff. We're going to go ahead and simply get into what we have in regards to our outline. And yeah, we will talk about BTC dominance in a bit. Getting into that. Hold on, just a second about the sneeze. All right, sorry about but yeah, in regards to BTC dominance going up, you entering alts now or later. I've been entered into alts since 2021. My thing is the end of this accumulation phase, and this is why we're highlighting a particular alt for you guys, which is Flare. So without further ado, we're just going to get right into our Flare outline for tonight. Please smash that like. Even if you don't hold Flare, I'll give you some educational content to support my research, our research, right? Mike Cornwell as well. So let's get into this. Here it is basically, and it is Flare. And this is not really a shill or anything, but I just kind of found it incredibly interesting about the recent prices for Flare. So for one, Crypto Mike has this before we start more into the Flare outline, excuse me. It's kind of like an outline that gets into Flare. Okay, so he states this was DM'd to him from the one and only Richard Common Sense Crypto, and basically, Rich goes into detail. He says, he DM'd this, of course, to Mike. Mike sent to me. He actually even gave me a call about it. He felt this was a big deal. And, Forbes is always sharing crazy stuff. And some of it got, basically deleted, I guess you could say, the 58,000 XRP. But, before we get into the Flare coverage, this is a good segue to Flare, right? Because we understand the connection with XRP and Flare. Or some of us do, some of us don't. Bottom line is this. Forbes predicts $8 trillion into XRP and Bitcoin markets amid a looming US dollar collapse. I don't like the idea of bad things happening to people. Of course not. But at the same time, there's always a certain amount of supply and demand for anything. What kind of demand will this create for crypto? That's the bottom line, right? Even if you're just new to this, you can have a broader sense of why we pay attention to some of this stuff. So crypto basic, right? Let's pull this up for a second because, again, worth paying attention to. So getting more into this, we're going to pull up this article, and basically speaking, yeah, here it is. Forbes predicts $8 trillion into XRP and Bitcoin, just like we mentioned. When was it reported? Literally today. Goes into detail. In a recent article, Forbes magazine highlighted, as we know, an extraordinary shift approaching the crypto market, with XRP positioned at its core. Now, here's some of the nitty-gritty. The report was entitled U.S. Dollar Collapse. Shock, $8 trillion predicted Fed inflation flipped to spark a critical Bitcoin, as in BTC, Ethereum, and even XRP and crypto price boom to rival gold. This is crazy stuff, right? This is why a lot of times you'll still see people like, well, all the time, mention that, Bitcoin is a great store of value because, again, the gold reference, gold has been a great store of value for the longest time. I guess you can even say, silver is, to a sense too. I mean, Robert Kiyosaki on a recent video was talking about some of this, and if anything, maybe I'll have time to share that. But the key thing is he mentions that, he remembers when he was buying silver at like $50, and now he could buy it for like 35, and that's a lot better than just being told. And God rest my grandmother, I love and miss her every day, but she would always tell me, hey, grandson, you need to basically save your money, right? Stop buying toys and stuff like that. Save your money. But in reality, instead of saving $1, right, like actual cash money, it should have been like, save your money for you can buy real world assets, as in precious metals, right? Because that's going to be worth a heck of a lot more than this paper-backed nonsense that's not backed by anything, right? But, whose grandparent or mother or whoever didn't tell us that stuff? Anyway, back to this, right? Talks about the Forbes report, argued the potential of a shock 8 trillion. This is huge, guys. I don't think, maybe some of you guys realize how huge it is. It's massive. 8 trillion vacating the U.S. financial system for the XRP and Bitcoin markets amid a projected U.S. dollar collapse. Chad Steingraber, a professional game designer in the XRP community, spotlighted the report for the XRP army. We have shared some of the things. I know Quant Papa doesn't like when I share some of his stuff, but hey, sorry, Quant Papa. Anyway, respect you, but that's all right. He states, U.S. dollar collapse, shock 8 trillion, predicted Fed inflation, flip to spark a critical Bitcoin, Ethereum, and crypto price boom to rival gold. That was reported yesterday. But in the detailed report, Forbes first noted that XRP and other major cryptos have recently experienced a loss of momentum. However, stated there is a glimmer of hope on the horizon with significant speculation from financial experts. Shout out to Will Fix. He's always talking about that glimmer of hope, right? And if anything, is that so bad to have hope? I think he's spot on. We all want some hope. What about this projected USD collapse, right? So it goes into detail. It says that Forbes was placed under scrutiny in regards to the fate of the U.S. dollar and, of course, how the United States grapples with a daunting $33 trillion debt. I thought it was more. I could have sworn it was 36. I thought it was actually as high as 38. I don't know. Maybe that's not accurate. But where the case be, even if it was over 30 or 20 or 10, it's too much, right? It disclosed that analysts from the prominent equity research and strategy firm Jefferies predict a potential collapse of the U.S. dollar as the Federal Reserve becomes compelled to restart its money printing efforts. Now, I want to state this real quick. Let's pause there for a second. When we get into the Quant coverage of the night, this is all going to come full circle, right? So if anything, it's going to be a nice little intro to why we're talking about some of these doom and gloom scenarios. If Quant's your thing, you want to stick around to that, even though we're going to get into Flare here in a bit. But yeah, even getting into this, according to Jefferies experts, which Forbes, of course, cited, the Fed policies could trigger a significant price surge. Yeah, you read that right, not a typo. In XRP, BTC, and even Ethereum. The reason behind the projected price jump is the potential of cryptocurrencies like XRP rivaling the status of gold as a safe haven asset while the cash printing endeavors drag down USD. I mean, you're now starting to see mainstream news finally talk about some of this. It's one thing to get somebody like Jim Cramer who's like, hey, here's what to buy, and that ends up being not what to buy. And he says, here's what not to buy, and then you find out that actually ends up what to buy. But now when you get this narrative shift of if you can't beat them, join them, I think this is the proof in the pudding. Yes, this is crypto basic, but let's face it, guys, this is more of a mainstream outlet. So glad to bring this all to you guys. So there's obviously a lot more goes into some of this other examples about it and so on, but I am on a kind of a time constraint tonight. So it won't be like 3 or 4 hours or anything like that. So we'll get into it. I now want to introduce this whole thing of Flare to you guys. And for some of you guys, it's like, hey man, I already know about Flare. Cool story, bro, right? Well, it's more than a cool story. Let's get into the nitty gritty of why you want to pay attention to this. Here's why. So for one, we're going to start off with this right here. Here's Flare, currently ranked 107th. All right. It's not quite in the top 100, but it has been before. Earlier today, when I was talking to Crypto Mike, roughly about an hour and a half ago, this was up over 170% volume. It's now at 70%. Why do you think that is? Because people do recognize all-time lows. Let's highlight what I'm talking about. All-time lows for Flare happened 6 hours ago. That isn't a typo either. All-time highs were 9 months ago, and it was as high as close to 8 cents, slightly under 8 cents. Now, of course, that's an 87% drop-off since this all-time highs. But the bottom line is this. If you know real research and you appreciate real research, and maybe you've already done your own research, hey, awesome. Hats off to you. We're always trying to pay attention to the low of the lows. Now, this could go even lower. Don't get me wrong on that, right? I'm not a fortune teller, but I do pay attention to opportunity, right? We all do. That's why we're all here, right? So it is worth noting that this is now below 1 penny. And basically speaking, for myself, I decided to make a pretty significant position into this. But that's not the key thing. The key thing is this, okay? The use case of Flare. Now, if you're wondering, some of the other stats that I can provide you without getting more into the white paper, and by the way, you can always read the white paper if you choose to nerd out. Most people don't. Read a light paper at bare minimum, right? A few key things to point out. It does have a verified market cap of 240 million, all right? Recent volume is up about 69%, the 24-hour chart. Again, it was a lot higher about an hour ago. The circulating supply is close to 25 billion. Total supply is 100 billion 559 million. Max supply. There is no reported max supply. And of course, this is where people say, well, I don't want to touch this then. You also got to keep in mind, this is at the bottom, right? So how much is in circulating supply? Great question. Basically speaking, we are at roughly 25%, give or take, on the circulating supply. We understand that the examples before we've given you states that we prefer things to be at 80% or higher because we feel like we don't have to chase things uphill, right? Chase things uphill. But what makes this different compared to the other example? What makes this different is that you are at bottom. So that risk that you take on in regards to chasing the asset uphill is significantly much more different compared to other examples of other ones that we use, like the graph and all those other examples in regards to tokenomics. If you saw that JASMY, Quant, among other tokenomics example video. Okay, so I want to throw that out there. Now, getting into where you can get this before we get into the use case real quick. Many different markets where you can get this. Basically, I got mine on crypto.com, but my key thing is you can also get it on MEXC. You could use, actually, my Cornwell did 20x at leverage on MEXC. Again, guys, the point is make sure that you're prepared to, potentially lose, right? Don't put in more than you can afford to lose on anything, right? You can also get this on Coinbase. Those of you guys are overseas who still have access to KuCoin, you can get on KuCoin. Some other ones, there's a lot, right? BitTrue, Femex, there's just a whole bunch of ones, basically. Ishmart, if you want to go with them. All right, so a lot of different ones. Probit, we know that Probit is, I think, for XSwap and was an plugin and so on, right? All right, so getting into the use case about this, let's talk about this for a second. Basically speaking, what is Flare, right? Flare is EVM-based layer 1, because remember yesterday we were talking about XRP and EVM sidechains. So if anything, this is kind of a nice little follow-up. But yeah, they are a layer one aiming to make blockchain more useful by giving developers decentralized access to, of course, high integrity data from the chains and the internet. Now, the cool thing about this is, like it says, this enables new cases and monetization models while allowing dApps to serve multi-chains through a single deployment. So again, if you saw yesterday's show of what David Schwartz was talking about in regards to the bigger picture, I think you can realize just on the surface how big Flare can be. Now, of course, that was just a little brief gist. We're gonna get more into this. We'll talk about this for just a brief moment. What makes Flare unique? Interoperability, right? And also this thing about state connector and basically being able to securely, acquiring the event of information from other blockchains and the internet to be used as smart contracts on Flare. So just to give you the quick gist, Flare enables basically almost all blockchains, if I'm not mistaken, to be able to have smart contract functionality. That's huge. As we know, a lot of blockchains don't have smart contracts. It seems like they do, but they don't. And we understand that smart contracts is the key pathway forward for an ecosystem. Whether it's thriving or not, at least that's like, your entry point. That's why I put so much emphasis on Stellar, right, with Soragon. But, we are talking about Flare. We are talking about XRP. And, it's been criticized, right, by a few of you guys, nothing against Mr. Cool Cat, right? I respect Cool Cat if you're here tonight. This is not me picking on you. You may feel as though this is me picking on you two days in a row. It's not. But the point is this, okay? It has been criticized when it comes to Ripple's XRP that, they don't really have anything solid in regards to smart contracts. Now, we did see in the past recently, there is actually some other things in regards to smart contracts, but Flare really, really stands out to basically be that answer to that solution for smart contracts. So right on the surface, right there is your answer to the whole question of what is the utility of Flare. There's a lot more, obviously, in regards to utility. What about what the token is for, right? Because we could talk about utility all day long, but what about the actual native token of Flare? If it has no utility, then what's the point of buying? Well, FLR is the native token, and it's used for payments, transaction fees to prevent spam attacks, staking validator nodes, etc., etc. Now, they do have this thing about wrapping their particular tokens and how you can earn more Flare. And at the end of the intro deep dive about Flare, we'll get specifically into why that's important. I'll show you a nice 3-minute video that sums it up 100% from beginning to end on how to do that if Flare is your thing. All right, getting into a little bit more about Flare, okay? Here's straight from the Flare community. And basically speaking, there's a lot of possibilities in regards to Flare and how it opens up a lot of cool things for developers. And at the end of the day, isn't that what it's all about? You yourself as a retail holder might not like the idea of me even talking about how attractive this is to devs because you're just not maybe a nerd, and that's okay. But once you understand that when devs can build on a platform and the ease of use is awesome and they like it, and then it's just that simply easy to use and for them and their other dev buddies to build on, well, then that's the pathway forward for a thriving ecosystem, right? So, like it says, prepare for a wave of interest as the world gets out that Flare is solving some of the biggest problems in crypto. And this also catches my attention because when I hear things like this, just on the surface, I said to myself, my God, this is under a penny and we're at all-time lows as of 6 hours ago. I'm all about opportunity. I'm all about trying to find gems. But what about ones that are like literally borderline or have been into the top 100? And this could very well be on the cusp of being labeled as a blue chip in the future. Like, aren't we all about that? Yeah. So getting more into this, I want to blow this up. And on this particular one, it talks about don't just look at this flow chart, understand it. How about this? Let's take a moment to understand the presented material. So number one, they have all sorts of things listed here. I'll just get to some of the key highlights, not all of them. They have, for instance, NFT dApps that are going to be built on Flare. Remember the connection last night talking about what is it, XLS 30, or 38, right? In regards to what David Schwartz was talking about. You can also select a preferred payment chain token in the actual decentralized app. The Flare Time Series Oracle, which is called FTSO, provides the dollar exchange rate for the chosen token, right, at the time of the market, right, on the fly, right? It's basically activating the FX market to a sense. Getting more into it, how about this? Far right, that provides amount to pay, payment addresses, payment reference. Users can, of course, make payment using their wallet for the chosen token. User obtains the transaction data. I mean, there's a lot that's to be mentioned here, especially when it comes to Stake Connector, which we'll get more into in a bit. Getting more into a little bit about Flare, especially for noobs and so on. This comes from Being Crypto. Shout out to Mike Cornwell, who provided this information. And getting into this, you're going to see that Flare Network for Beginners, a guide to the token. Because let's face it, some of you guys are new, some of you aren't. Maybe you also need a refresher. Maybe there's something here that Tim Shea might not even know about, right? Shout out to you, Tim. And basically, it is a guide. It was printed January 23rd of this year, so it's fairly new. But there is a lot of buzz, and we'll get into about how you get consistent Flare airdrops, like legitimate airdrops, right? By the way, guys, never click on those XRP airdrops or Quants or JASMY airdrops. It's those those are scams. Okay, don't do that. But yes, now that the Flare token has been distributed, the network is officially open for business. So what does it mean for you? What's Flare all about? Well, again, we're gonna get into some of these key things. And basically speaking, it's an interoperable layer 1 proof of stake blockchain, kind of mentioned about earlier, right? We always talk about these EVM virtual machines, and basically Flare was created in 2020. And what was the aim? To bring smart contract and interoperability capabilities to blockchains. But specifically, let's face it, XRP, right? So when people state, and nothing against anybody, that, XRP has a problem, and that problem is the lack of smart contract functionality. Well, if you have something that's going to complement something like XRP or be the solution, I think if anything, that creates not just demand for Flare, but also helps XRP out, right? And if you own both or diversified, isn't that a good thing? So looking more into this, Flare proposed scaling proof of stake blockchains without compromising their security. I want you to hear this for a second. Of course, Ripple powered by XRP was one of the main targets and inspirations of just that, the Flare network. That's why we reference it. So how does this get all done without compromising security, right? It does this by ensuring that the network security is not linked solely to its native tokens, as in with the case with most, if not all, proof of stake networks. So I have another short little thing from this guy, and we'll get into that in a bit because this one is a little bit long. But I want to share with you who this guy is. It's Hugo Fillion. He's the CEO of the project. Hugo has a background in portfolio management, commodity derivatives. Again, think about that, commodity derivatives. Let's see here. He also has a Master of Science. I do as well, but who cares? Anyway, in machine learning from UCL, where he met the other co-founders. Okay. So I don't want to get so much into him. I want to get back to why I want to show you this brief clip. But basically speaking, let me just pull this up for a second. I think I got it right here. He's going to go into detail. Yeah, here it is. In regards to this whole thing with data, because you guys know me. I'm always talking about JASMY. We talk about a little bit of IOTA. We always talk about data, right? That's the bottom line. So I want to share this. This is straight from the Flare network, so it's official. And it's their thesis, Flare's thesis in data first, right? I like this because I do talk about JASMY all the time, right? JASMY is all about data first and, data democratization, even finance now. This is a different particular project. So number one, give developers all the data they need to create new blockchain use cases. That sounds cool, does it not? Provide the data at minimal cost for maximum scalability. So here's the thing. Later on into this intro deep dive, we're going to get into how Flare not only scales and give you some examples, we even give you the exact TPS and how it allows what? Yes, 2 days in a row, boil it, mash it, stick it in stew. It allows XRP to scale. Yeah, got to pound that home. All right. As blockchain adoption, of course, increases. This was an interview from Defiant News.
Can you tell me a little bit about...
Let me see real quick. They are unbiased, independent DeFi coverage, over 105,000 followers. This is a quick interview from the highlights of that interview because I don't want to play like a 45-minute long interview for you guys. But nonetheless, this is the CEO of Flare, like I just introduced. Please smash that like. Let's listen to what he has to share in regards to Flare Network. Here we go.
Can you tell me a little bit about your approach with Flare Network to crypto use cases?
So obviously we're, I guess, trying to run a broad gamut of what can be use cases. This is why our kind of data first thesis is sort of where we've pitched ourselves, because we think that, you know, blockchain as a ledger is great. Blockchain with, you know, computation and a ledger is fantastic, but you need to be able to access data from external to the chain in a essentially as low cost way as possible. If it's expensive, like, you know, the existing incumbent oracles you know, that's not going to allow scaling. And really, we think that the future is about allowing people to build dApps that have access to as much data as possible so that they're useful. So we think that obviously we're starting in DeFi. We think there's a lot of, you know, possibilities in gaming, a lot of possibilities in tokenization, and a lot of possibilities in machine learning, specifically around data.
Few key things I want you to take away from what he just said. So for one, tokenization. We've been talking about tokenization a lot lately. You know, yesterday, day before, many weeks, right? He talks about this whole thing of data. But hear me out on this. Maybe you can agree or disagree with it. It's totally fine, right? I'm not going to take no offense to it. I mean, who cares, right? Should we treat, maybe unofficially, Flare kind of like how we treat Sorbonne for Stellar? Not all the way. Hear me out on this. Why would I say something like that? Because the key towards smart contracts, okay? You think about Sorbonne, that is literally their premier key to smart contracts, right? Well, again, Ripple's XRP gets criticized for not having that functionality, but then enters Flare for having that. So am I too far off when it comes to that? Again, try your own conclusion. Now, some people will say, yeah, you are too far off with that, Max, because, you know, Sorbonne, you're going to have at least 70 projects, as I would say, flip of the switch when that goes live on their mainnet, and it's going to be massive, and I would agree with you. I also want to talk about something in regards to Flare, because with Flare, there's apparently about 100 current projects part of their ecosystem. Now, that's not a lot compared to other blockchains, but it's definitely worth pointing out. And I'll give you guys some examples on that here in a bit as well. Don't want to get too ahead of myself, right? All right. So getting more into what we have, I'm going to pull up the next part of all this. And, you know, we always pay attention to all the little nitty gritty. Here's their website. I do want to at least show you what the website looks like. I'm not going to put a lot of time into it, but I like how it says connect everything. It's just blunt, right in your face. Flare is the blockchain for data, providing developers with secure, decentralized access to high integrity data from other chains and, of course, the internet. Getting more into it, they, of course, reference the whole thing at EVM-based layer 1. We already talked about that. State Connector will give you a little bit more examples in regards to that. But it states, unleash the full potential of blockchain, Flare's decentralized data acquisition protocols, and scalable EVM-based smart contracts. Again, back to what we talked about just briefly about a minute or two ago. To expand the reach and value of your project, build on Flare with more data than ever before, or build with Flare to serve multiple ecosystems. What about ones that don't have ecosystems? So even putting aside XRP, right, because we already talked a lot about that, this creates supply and demand, because you want to know something, for a lot of blockchains, they just got started, or they just need an extra oomph, extra leg up, right? I think Flare can get that job done for them and so on, and especially if let's say for instance, Flare is already going with XRP. What about when XRP flies? And we have some examples of Flare all of a sudden, man, check out XRP. They have all these new smart contracts. Word will get around, especially if XRP starts doing some big things. Yeah, again, we talk about undervalued assets. It's just as simple as that. Think about it for a second. Now, getting more into this, here's I guess you could say some of that community-driven news, because I didn't want to just give you guys, hey, here's the typical thing, an intro, so on and so forth. I want to give you guys a little bit more, because one thing to share the mainstream, to share some of the community-driven news. So this comes from a guy's name is Digital Dirt, and kind of a funny name, but anyway, he says Flare Network is building something amazing. You reported this, of course, on October 8th, so this is literally pretty new. And he says few don't even know about it, right? Maybe some of you guys in the comments or watching this on the Chopped Up or whatever the case may be, just don't know about Flare and that exists, basically, right? So he says the upside is incredible, and those of us that have been holding Flare and participating in the network through delegation will be quite happy we did in the coming years. Well, can you give me an example why, Max? Of course. For one, first, Flare brings data on-chain in decentralized manner, right? We talked about that. But not only for Web3, but Web2, right? We're not quite to Web3 yet. Then it uses the data to create an F-asset system, connecting chains that don't normally have, of course, like you just said, smart contract functionality. So we covered that. Then it connects smart contract platforms, of course, to Flare and to each other, right? Vice versa, through what is called layer cake. Now that sounds crazy, right? Like when I think layer cake, I'm thinking, like, oh, I'm a noob, does that have something to do with pancake swap? No, not that. But, this allows this in a fast, insured, and useful manner. So for instance, like it says, remember layer cakes, and most of you guys don't know this, so it's okay. It collects or carries, I should say, a call data, which lets people execute transactions across chain without leaving their home chain. So that in itself, if you're wondering, like I always state, what's utility in motion? Well, it's transactions happening, right? So boom, there's your utility in motion. Layer cake also allows F assets to be sent to all other smart contract networks connected through layer cake. So that right there gives you another example of utility. Now, at this particular point, smart contracts can be built on Flare that access the value of many chains and can utilize data for more sources than ever before. Say what you want. You ever notice Rich, Common Sense Crypto? He talks about Flare quite often. And why does he do that? Because he understands that it's a very, very undervalued asset with huge upside potential. It's one thing that this could be labeled as a project that only connects, for instance, to XRP, and that would be big in itself. I would probably still be sold on it. But when you see this whole thing of, like it says right here, sent to where all the smart contract networks, that's big. That is really, really big. Okay. What about this whole thing of how it propagates the data proven on Flare from the functionality at 0.1 to as many networks as possible as a paid for service to other networks? That's like, wow, I didn't realize that. That sounds cool, right? This benefits, of course, Flare validators. So if you are a validator, then there's your benefit. I mean, you see how it all comes together, right? And also the participants. This also allows data to be propagated across chains, even if it didn't originate, of course, on Flare. Now, getting more into this before we get into the next bit of the outline. This is all basically done without centralization or compromise on core blockchain principles. I love QNT, and we know that when it comes to QNT, it's all about interoperability. And so, of course, at some point, somebody's going to bring this up. What is Flare Connect Everything? How is it different from example, Quant? And this is, again, why I want to bring it to you guys. So I want to pull this up for a second. And basically, everybody's seen one of those little magazines, or not magazines, one of those little books, blockchain for dummies, or how to work a computer for dummies, anything for dummies, right? So here's the bottom line, and we'll get into the next part here in a bit because I can't put the whole focus is on this all day. This is good stuff, though. So from the educated or educational point of view, okay, and this is a legitimate question. Imagine Flare as a special platform that helps different types of digital money, called obviously cryptocurrencies, right? Work together, but better, okay? That should grab your attention. It does this by adding a special feature called smart contracts to cryptocurrencies that don't have it, right? Smart contracts are like super smart agreements that can automatically do things when certain conditions are met. It's like having a robot, that follows the rules of an agreement and takes action on its own when everything is set up correctly. There's a little bit more in regards to this, so it sounds like it's lots of it's verbatim, but this is a great example I don't want to skip for you guys. So here's an example. If you lend someone money and they pay it back on time, the smart contract can basically automate by giving them a reward. Flare, on the other hand, wants to make this cool feature available for other crypto like XRP, even Litecoin, Ethereum, so on and so forth, right? Flare makes these cryptocurrencies more useful, opens up a lot of exciting possibilities. Again, I mean, it's one thing to do it for like maybe one or two chains, but what about all chains? That's huge. Maybe that's why they call it Flare. Like like that one movie from back in the day, The Office, Jennifer Aniston, you don't have enough flair. You're not wearing enough flair. Well, Flare brings flair to the blockchains. I mean, no pun intended, but literally you can see maybe that's how they got the name. I don't know, but where the case be, I get it. You get it. In addition, in regards to some of this, I'm going to skip this part real quick. I think we talked about some of this. Flare has its own special token. It's also called Spark. Think of it as a special fuel that powers the Flare network and helps make decisions about how things should work. So bottom line is this: Flare is like a super power for cryptocurrencies. It makes them even more powerful, allows them to do really cool things automatically. So again, the key thing you should take away from this is it all automated? Yeah, it is. Flare network in regards to Quant, right? Because that was a question that got brought up. Because I knew at some point somebody would say, well, what makes this different from Quant? So Flare network connects different blockchain networks, just like Quant, for instance. Both Quant and Flare want to create interoperability between different blockchains, allowing them to communicate and share information with each other. However, of course, there is differences, right? Because if there was no difference, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I would probably go all in on Flare compared to Quant, right? Like, are you kidding me? Right. And again, I knew somebody was going to ask this, so I'm glad to be able to bring this to you guys. While both Quant and Flare have the goal of connecting blockchains, they approach it from slightly different angles. Quant focuses on overall blockchain interoperability, while Flare focuses on smart contract integration, right? But even with Quant, you do have a lot of things in regards to smart contracts as well. But that is worth noting. And this was a great little write-up that I really appreciate. So if anything, I'm going to go ahead, like this. I'm going to reshare it. And basically speaking, we're going to get to the next part of what we have, because I mean, it is good stuff. I mean, some people I think obviously appreciate the content. Maybe some don't. I don't know. Maybe just want me to jump to the next thing. But bottom line is I do have a lot more I want to get into. So we did talk about the whole thing in regards to Flare and smart contracts and all that stuff. One of the things I want to talk about that we didn't have a chance to talk about is 3 key things. Okay. Or actually 4. So for one, what about payments in regards to Flare, right? So Flare, as in the FLR token, could be, of course, used for payments. This is again my own notes on the Flare network and bridge assets between blockchains. So boom, that answers that particular question. What about staking, right? Some of you guys do want to do staking because this is a proof of stake. Great question. FLR tokens can be staked to secure Flare networks and, of course, earn rewards. And at the end of this outline, we're going to get into how you can do that in under 3 minutes in that particular video. So that's cool stuff. Excuse me. Sorry about that. How about governance? Just real quick, right? FLR holders can participate in the governance of the Flare network by voting, of course, on proposals. Like, a lot of guys that hold Luna Classic and stuff, you really understand how that works. How about Oracle fees? Users can pay FLR fees to access data from the Flare time series Oracle, which is called FTSO. And that basically provides decentralized price data to smart contracts on Flare. Again, more of that utility in motion. Last part, I should say second to last part, collateral. Yeah, there's got to be a little bit of collateral, right? So Flare can be used as collateral in third-party decentralized applications, like for instance dApps, and basically build on Flare. I mean, that's super cool, right? Trying to build out the ecosystem. Now, here are some specific examples on how Flare, as we speak, is being used today. For one, there's a thing called wrapped XRP, which sounds crazy, right? But Flare is being used to wrap XRP into WXRPT. Sounds bizarre, right? But this can be used in DeFi applications on Flare. So when we talk about those apps, you wrap up the XRP, then you use it on Flare. That's a little bit more of that utility in motion. There's, of course, Flare Finance. You could use it for lending, borrowing, staking services. There's even a DAO. Now, getting into a little bit more of what I have in regards to my notes, we do know, of course, that any blockchain can use Flare, so we recover that. I don't need to cover that again. Getting more into this, let's pull this up. I want to talk about State Connector for a second because I do feel as though it's a big deal. So basically speaking, here it is in regards to State Connector. We talked about it earlier. They are a smart contract that runs on the Flare network. Now, some of you guys are retail investors. You're like, I don't want any of the nerdish talk, Max. I just want you to get into when moon. Trust me, if you understand this, you'll understand how we do get to when moon. So for one, State Connector is a smart contract running on the Flare network that allows anyone to query non-changing verifiable information. This is also where you get that quant kind of feel to it. You know how Gilbert Vereen talks about, you know, is it trustless, immutable, verifiable, and so on, right? Yes, sounds a lot like quant. But here's the thing. You can also view this outside the Flare network, and that's big. You want to see that. You want to see that transparency. Back to the whole thing of the CEO when he was talking about data. Data that changes, such as the latest BTC to US dollar conversion rate, for instance, and non-verifiable data, such as data behind a paywall, are not available through the State Connector. However, State Connector basically allows us to access data in decentralized manner. For one, there's no single party that is in control of the process. That's good. Think about it. Do you want a single party in control of this? Do you want your Doquans or Dokon accessing it, only him? You don't want that, right? So again, that sense of security. Is this a scam? No, it's not the scam. So securely, this all happens. It takes a lot, of course, of effort to disrupt the process. It can be disrupted, but this again, kind of like Quant, is it immutable? Okay. This is accomplished by using a set of independent attestation providers which fetch the required information from the world and deliver it, of course, to the Flare network. The State Connector smart contracts then checks if there's enough consensus among the received answers and publishes the results if so. Now, we're going to go down to this example. You see how it works with the Flare network. You have the State Connector basically requesting information. You got to reply, attestation providers, right? And of course, the World Wide Web. It all comes together. Last point in regards to State Connector. It can check whether deposit has been made on another blockchain. That is very, very cool. There's ones that cannot do that unless that other blockchain has compatibility. This is, again, why Flare has a little bit of that quant feel. You know, shout out to Tim Shea, always mentions that, you know, like Nixera is like Quant's younger cousin. Well, maybe Flare is kind of like Quant's little brother. You get what I'm saying? Or little baby, right? Anyway, I'm gonna eat ya. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, opening the door to more advanced mechanisms like F Asset or the layer cake bridges. This, of course, gives you more of the details, but I think you kind of get the idea of how that works and why I wanted to bring it to your attention. All right, now jumping into a little bit more of what I have, I want to give you some notes. And basically, we talked earlier about can XRP scale, right? And I think the answer is yes. We understand there's some people that disagree, right? I respect cool cat crypto, right? But my thing is this: yes, it can scale, but can Flare scale? And can Flare allow scalability for other projects? Great question, right? And the answer is yes, absolutely. How so? Well, let me give you some examples. So, for one, yes, Flare can scale. It's a layer one blockchain basically that is designed to be scalable and secure. Flare uses a number of different tech to achieve scalability. For one, sharding with a D. No, Boomer F and Sooner, if you're here tonight. I don't know if he is because I don't think I welcomed him earlier. Otherwise, I would have been like, Boomer F and Sooner. No, we're not talking about sharding with a T. It's sharding, different type of thing. So, what about Flare and sharding? Flare uses sharding to divide the network into smaller groups and nodes, I should say, each of which are responsible for processing basically a subnet. Now, if you're wondering about what the heck is that all about, and that's a great question, it allows for the transactions, a subnet of transactions. It allows, of course, the network to process more transactions in parallel. And it basically, the main thing is to increase this overall throughput, right? That's a good thing. Now, earlier we talked about, the whole thing, what was it, state bloat? What about state channels? Flare uses state channels to allow users to transact off-chain without having to broadcast their transactions to the entire network. As the saying goes, it's like, not volunteering all information, right? Only the necessary information. This can significantly reduce the load on the network and improve scalability. All right, think about it. Packets of information. If I send a request, for instance, like let's say I'm playing a video game, right? And they have a big update, and the update is 100 gig update, like Modern Warfare, Modern Warfare 2. Okay, I understand it's a necessary update. Do I need to do a 100 gig update every single time? No, I do not. Right? I only sometimes just need like a 1.5 megabyte update. So this, of course, in regards to all this, prevents problems in regards to scalability because you're not using as much system resources, right? So we do have rollups. Flare, of course, can scale up to a layer 2. Hear me out on this. And that particular solution can bundle multiple transactions together and process them, of course, off-chain. How cool is that? This can further improve the scalability, of course, of the Flare network. Now, in regards to some of the criticism, there is some criticism, let's be honest. Flare network is a young network. It hasn't been around really that long. I mean, the concept of, I think it's been around since 2016, but in reality, as far as being built in mainnet, it's very young. Okay, so for one, since it's young, all right, there's a lot of room to grow, right? And again, why would I want to come into a project when it's fully, like all the bells and whistles are done and so on, right? Like that's not going to be as much of a lucrative opportunity compared to other ones. But yes, as more and more users and developers adopt Flare, the network will become more scalable. Think about it. It has a strong community, right? And that's always a good thing. There's people like you saw earlier sharing some of the use case, right? Even doing the Quant comparison. I mean, right? A lot of other communities, they don't necessarily do that. But here's another cool thing. They have at Flare Network the backing of big investors. And again, let's get out of the nerd talk. What does this mean for you as a retail investor? So by having the backing of big investors, Flare has attracted a number of high-profile investors, including Binance Labs, Anderson Horowitz. This investment, of course, will help Flare to continue to grow and develop its scalability capabilities. So even though some people might say, hey, it's got limitations, hey, big investors are going to want to see it scale even further than it does. All right, speaking a little bit more in regards to what we have in regards to Flare, there's two main things, of course, to get more into the scalability. And Flare can basically scale XRP in two ways, because we did talk about XRP scalability. So for one, we did talk about smart contracts, and the other, of course, is through interoperability. And bottom line is through EVM in itself, right? Ethereum virtual machines. these dApps that are EVM compatible with Flare, for instance, make it possible for XRP to be used on just that, these dApps. So that creates not only more utility for XRP, but it creates that supply and that demand also for Flare. So they both go hand in hand. And another cool thing that I also want to mention is Flare can also, were you aware of this, provide liquidity to XRP. That's really, really cool. Listen to this. So Flare does this by doing on decentralized exchanges, right? DEXs and so on, and other DeFi platforms. They can make it easier for people to buy, sell XRP, and it can lead to increased demand, of course, for the token. Flare also has this thing, again, back with the community. The community can promote XRP and its adoption, as well as realizing the demand for Flare at the same time. In closing, in regards to the scalability part, Flare has the potential, of course, to scale XRP more than a number of ways, but by enabling smart contracts, providing interoperability, building a community, basically, Flare can help increase demand for XRP and drive adoption. All right, let me get to this next part real quick. The last part in regards to scalability, right? So Flare in itself, as far as its speeds, the Flare team has stated that they have been able to successfully target 10,000 TPS. Now, we understand from what we shared yesterday that XRP has been stated that can do as much as 25,000 on the report that we had, right? But even with Flare, that's not too bad with 10,000, right? So, you know, if it was a case of, and I don't see this happening, but what if, you know, this is a scenario, right? So let's say XRP had problems at 1500 TPS. They can go with Flare, hop onto the network, and scale up to 10,000 TPS, right? And of course, there's a lot more other scalability to go higher than that and so on. But you like the idea that they have that function to be able to do that. That's a big deal. So if you're wondering what is the targeted or height of the scalability for Flare, is 10,000 TPS. But of course, like I mentioned earlier, with other investors coming in, they are looking to increase their TPS output even higher than that. All right, I know it's a lot of talk about Flare. I think we're almost done in regards to that. So let's get into this last part about it. Here's another great question. So how about this, guys? Which institutions, or will institutions, be using the Flare network and specifically the Flare token, right? Great question. So basically, there is quite a few different scenarios in regards to this where Flare can be attractive to institutional holders, right? Of, let's face it, the FLR token and its use cases. So, of course, smart contract capabilities. You got to keep in mind, Flare is attractive to institutions that are interested, of course, in DeFi or other blockchain-based applications. The whole project could be completely focused on their own use case for institutions or investors that come into the platform, like some of the examples we gave yesterday. Where you had, I think it was called Aplex or Aplex, I can't remember, something like that, built from Hedera, right? Or not built on Hedera, but partner with Hedera. Now that's all focused strictly on on investing and so on. But if that particular one didn't want to just settle for Hedera, right, they can contact Flare and say, hey, guess what? We want to expand to other particular ones. Flare can help them do that as far as smart contract functionality, but not all the other functionality that Quant has, for instance. Of course, we talked about scalability, but I think that's big. How about banks, real quick, in regards to Flare? This is a great question. Institutions can use Flare if they choose to do so. Banks could use Flare to offer new financial products and services to their customers, such as cross-chain payments, of course, and DeFi products. What about some of those asset managers? What about literally somebody like Larry Fink? Great question. Asset managers could use the FLR token to invest in DeFi and other blockchain-based assets. Last but not least, what about corporations, standard corporations? Great question. Corporations could use Flare to develop and deploy blockchain-based applications such as supply chain management systems and customer loyalty programs. This is where Flare even enters into the sector that XDC is in. that Morpheus networks in, VeChain. They're also part of that mix. Another utility layer that you may not have even been aware of. Now you may say, how so, Max? I don't get that. Think about it for a second. What about all the entire trade finance sectors that have thriving, robust ecosystems, but you have a particular project from those ecosystems that want to go on and make their own thing? Right. So they say to themselves, well, we still, for instance, like got XDC going, but then they want to go start their brand new thing. Flare is that plug. Flare is that connect. All right. I think I talked your guys' ears off about Flare. So I'm just going to get into the last bit of what we have in regards to Flare. And here it is. Here is how you can actually earn more Flare. So I'm just going to go ahead and full screen this. And you can wrap, you can delegate, you can claim, and you can repeat the process. You can qualify for the monthly Flare drops like Mike Cornwell, basically, and other members of the community. But you have to first wrap your FLR tokens. And it's going to allow you to maximize compounding by also delegating to the Flare Time Series Oracle to earn FTSO delegation rewards every what? 3 to 5 days. How cool is that? Now, this was originally shared April 12th, 2023. We're just going to jump right into it. It's going to give you the whole gist of how you can do this from beginning to end. If you appreciate the Flare intro deep dive tonight, please smash that like. And when this gets chopped up, please let me know if you hold Flare and why you hold it. Thanks for being here tonight. Really appreciate you guys. Here we go.
Anyone who has just hopped on board Flare will quickly learn that there are two primary mechanisms that allow for obtaining additional FLR tokens. This involves wrapping, delegating, and claiming, which we'll learn in under 3 minutes. FLR holders can participate in both the Flare drop and FTSO delegation. However, both require that you have the wrapped version of FLR. This simply converts the native token into a smart version, which allows for greater functionality. So if you've only just received FLR, especially on an exchange, it's likely not yet wrapped. The method of wrapping may differ slightly depending on which wallet you use, such as the Bifrost wallet, MetaMask, or a hardware wallet like a Ledger device. Today, we'll use MetaMask. If your FLR is on an exchange, first move it to your non-custodial wallet, in this instance, MetaMask. To find instructions on setting up whichever wallet you're using, visit the user guides in the official Flare documentation at docs.flare.network. After funding your wallets with your FLR tokens, we can move to the Flare portal at portal.flare.network. Flare portal allows the use of MetaMask or any wallet supported by Wallet Connect, as well as Coinbase Connect, and is the hub for the most common Flare actions. Once your wallet is connected, on the main page, find and click on Wrap. Input the number of tokens you wish to wrap, remembering to reserve a small amount for gas. Confirm the transaction, and your tokens will be wrapped. Now that your tokens are wrapped, you're automatically eligible to receive the Flare drop distributions as long as you maintain your balance of wrapped FLR. Now, to maximize your rewards, you can at the same time participate in delegating in the Flare Time Series Oracle, or FTSO for short. In order to proceed, we must first find up to 2 data providers in the FTSO system to delegate our tokens to. You can visit flaremetrics.io to assess statistical data to help guide your choice. You can also see more meta info about these data providers on flaredashboard.io. With 1 or 2 data providers in mind, let's go back to the Flare portal. Find and click on the Delegate button. In the input boxes, make your data provider selections as found from flaremetrics.io. With your selections made, press Submit. Sign the transaction through your wallet, and your delegations have been successfully submitted. With your delegation set, you'll accrue rewards every 3.5 days, which can be claimed at the bottom of the Flare portal, alongside your Flare drop rewards on the right, every month. For more information, you can visit docs.flare.network, where you'll find an assortment of user guides. Welcome to Flare.
All right, so that concludes our coverage tonight in regards to this intro for Flare, this deep dive, whatever we want to refer to it. GG, I did see your comment, and that's okay. Welcome. You know, we'll always welcome a difference of opinion. You know, I'm not saying I'm 100% right on everything. I will state this though. So my thing is this: with Flare being at the bottom, I'm willing to put up that that amount that I did put in earlier. It's too attractive for me to not, just decide, hey, I'm going to pass up on this particular one. But anyway, let's welcome GG, also Cool Cat Crypto. A few other guys came tonight. Jack Thompson. I missed out some names. Sorry about that. Anyway, we'll kick it back into the comments. Turn some branding back on. And the next bit of coverage we'll have tonight is QNT. You're not going to want to miss our coverage of QNT tonight. This one definitely ranks up there, especially with what we talked about earlier, in regards to BlackRock. We talked about Aladdin, tying all this big stuff in, right? So stay tuned for that. Let's also read a few more comments. Please convince me which crypto to buy $30 tonight, even though I don't need convincing. And I know it's not financial advice. I was about to say that. I was going to say it's never financial advice. So for me personally, with $30 and $30 only. So you kind of want to get something that's going to be a buy. I get what you're saying. Because if it was a lot more than 30, I would probably say, some XRP and some Quant. But you're just wanting to get something. Well, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities. I mean, I still think Hedera is very undervalued right now. I think Stellar is really undervalued right now. I believe Stellar, where are we at on Stellar real quick? Let me just double check real quick. Let's just pull up the list. I'm going to share this with you guys so you can have a nice little visual. All right. Let me come back into here. So just briefly, because I do have to get more into this, otherwise I'll run out of time tonight. XRP is below 50 cents, so that's not bad. I mean, you could pick up a little bag of XRP if you chose to do so. Not financial advice, obviously. I'm still not wild on Cardano, even though I hold a lot. Okay, I just don't talk about it much. I would still stay away from Dogecoin personally because there's better opportunities. I think Polygon is still an absolute buy. I mean, it really, really is. And it's part of the Quant financial system. It's a top 20 in the QFS. And Chainlink, we saw some better prices, but that's still a buy. But you have $30. Okay, so Stellar, right? Now this is the biggest loser for the day. I know it sounds bad, but we're talking about as far as price. I mean, it's almost at an even 10 cents. I mean, even at that price, I mean, some people are like, oh, I'm gonna wait till it drops below 10. You might be waiting a long time. So that one I think is an absolute buy. I mean, obviously Cosmos is a great project. It's a buy, right? 683. We've seen it less. But you have $30, right? So I don't mean that disrespectfully. Anyway, Uniswap is $4.12. But let's try to find ones that you can pick more up of. So yeah, obviously Hedera, that really stands out as far as maybe your budget. Man, internet computer, I don't know how much longer I should be waiting on this. I probably should just say to heck with it, just pick up a bag. I probably will. I'm gonna go ahead and state that I'm gonna pick up a bag of that tonight. I already picked up a bunch of Flare earlier. I'm gonna go with some ICP. I'm on the fence about VeChain. I think like they're more than due. I mean, let's just double check this real quick in regards to VeChain. All right, so circulating supply 74 billion, total supply. Yeah, you're right. Look at that, 83%. So you're not really fighting that uphill battle. Let's see what's going on all time. So last time back in 2021, this was as much as 17 cents. And of course, crypto winners start kicking in full gear. So in reality, if you guys really think about it, right, we've seen nothing but sideways consolidation. Let's pull this up for a second. For the most part, I mean, this doesn't look too sideways, but if you look at all time from, roughly, yeah, I think this is accurate, right? So basically since, like right around this time last year, it's been this price, okay? That means this thing is due. It's definitely due. But a lot of people aren't willing to take a risk on it. I might be willing to finally take a risk on this. Because there's something to be said with that. That creates a pressure cooker effect. And, for some people are like, well, is there any much demand for this? Yeah. I mean, they do decent volume. 24-hour volume was 25 million. It doesn't seem like a lot, but they do rank 100th the top 100 for volume. That's not too bad. And then market cap ranked 36. We understand a lot of the use cases. You know, I'm just looking at it from the perspective, like I do want to expand my, I guess you could say my trade portfolio for crypto, other than just XDC and plugin and some of these other ones. I don't have Morpheus network, right? But you get what I'm saying. Hopefully you do. A little bit more about this real quick. Where am I on the screen real quick? Sorry about that. By the way, I'm going to do a Mantle deep dive at some point. I was listening to EMA on that. I was really impressed with Mantle. I feel as though that's one that's not really talked about a lot. All right, so how about a couple more for you real quick, and then we'll get back to some of the things. Obviously, XTC, right? BSV is a buy. You want to buy a full BSV? Might not go wrong with that, right? Shout out to Cool Cat. You know, you could buy a full BSV and just hold it for a long time, man, and that wouldn't be too shabby. All right, not financial advice. Is there anything else? Yeah, I mean, you know, how about JASMY, for crying out loud? 0.0032. You know, let me pull up that for a second. So, how much JASMY? Hold on, let me pull this up for a second. Let me refresh the screen. How much JASMY can you buy? Right? Let me see what the price is. I think it's 0.0032. All right, so okay, 3.1. My bad. So JASMY 0.003. We'll just round off to 3.2 because you're gonna have some fees. Times, and let's say, for instance, oh man, if you were buying like $332 worth, it'd be 100,000. So let's just say, I don't know. Let's say you're gonna buy 30,000 or 30,000 coins, roughly. I think that's the scenario. Hold on, I was wrong. So that's $96. So, hold on, 0.0032. Why did I mess up the math on that? My bad. Times, yeah, there we go. My bad. It was one decimal place short. So roughly, for around the price that you have, you could buy 10,000 JASMY. Okay, that's not bad. And then, if anything, you could dollar cost average more higher into it. I would probably go with that one personally. That or some Stellar or some Hedera, right? Anyway, hopefully that helps you out a little bit. All right. Swap my remaining ADA for HBAR and left 1K ADA. Did you do it for a loss? And if so, how much of a loss was it for? Or do you not even want to share that? And if you don't want to share that, I understand. All right. Guys, I just want to advise you guys, please smash that like. We're at 47 likes. We have 37 people watching. We would like to tick up into the 40s tonight. That'd be really cool. If we don't, that's okay too. But it does help. Triggers the YouTube algorithm. We're not a sponsored show. As you guys know, I put a lot of time into a lot of the research. That's all I ask. I really appreciate it. We don't require super chats or anything like that. Or that's one thing I do ask, is that you at least smash that like. All right. I'm going to read a few more comments, and then we're going to kick it into the outline because we really need to do so. All right, let's see here. Tim Shea, Flare should be a good buy after the price drop following the airdrop. Now that, I mean, all-time low 6 hours ago. I had to hop on that. X marks the spot, like JASMY scam. Good to see X marks the spot. And I always wonder, is that you or is that somebody else, you know, when your family members catching some snow? Anyway, that's cool. Good to see you. Thank you for being a good supporter. Great supporter of this channel. All right, gonna read a few more comments and then we're gonna kick it into the outline. Just a second. Let me see. All right. I want to welcome Rick Cogswell. He said, "Hi everyone, let's go. Good to see you." I also want to welcome the one and only Flare is the best Oracle. Well, thank you. I'm not earning anything yet. I just got it earlier today, so literally like maybe an hour or so ago. I don't have 300,000. I think you're talking Elon Musk. Okay, my bad. All right, so yeah, let's welcome you as well, Rick Cogswell. Always good to see you, Mr. Dingy, Mr. Dinu. We have Mateo Vince. This has to be Edward Vincent. There's no way you're. I'm Squidward's little brother. He's what? Really? Oh, you really are. Okay, my bad. I apologize. Well, welcome, Mateo Vincent, the little squid. Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you. All right, man. My bad. I just didn't know that. Shaq Thompson, welcome. Glad to have you. Yo, Max, the Maximus Deep Divis. I gotta be real careful with reading some of these things. I mean, that could have came out the wrong way, right? Right? Patrick Collier, who's driving down the road, listen to the program. Bad Latin. Yes, Flare makes everything scalable. And the example we shared tonight, I mean, it allows scalability even that much more for a different option for scalability, okay, for XRP and other ones. All right, let's see here. They are, man. Yeah. Wow. All right, that was awesome. You got the one and only, as Brian Dowie say, mudbutt going on. That's okay. All right, that's crazy. All right. So we're gonna do is we're going to welcome Cool Cat Crypto. Thank you for being here. Hopefully you saw the part about Flare, but that's okay. Thank you so much, the one and only. I do appreciate that. And just going through a few more comments. You're almost to your goal on Quant. Awesome. I'm just kind of rapidly going through comments. I do believe this will be huge. I also believe this will be huge too. All right. Let's see here. There's a super chat that came in. Morpheus is in the building. Oh, I believe you're from Crypto Twitter. My bad. Well, maybe you're not. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, I do. My new goal is 3 million, though. It's going to take a while to get to that. I could technically do it right now, but like I was telling you, some of you guys, I'm starting to pull some triggers on some things. I think I'm going to go 50-50 QNT and XRP. I originally was going to go all in on QNT. I understand with some of these things, especially with BlackRock deciding to go with XRP. Like, I'm not going to just be like, oh, yeah, all QNT. This is why both of these are tied for my number one. That's just me. You guys do you, right? All right. Thank you for the $3 super chat from Mr. Salamander. Really do appreciate that. I think we had some super chats above earlier. Appreciate it. Shaq, I think Adam could reach 1,000. It has low supply. That's awesome. I'm probably going to pick up a little bag of that tonight too, finally. VeChain is a buy and at worst dump later. GG, welcome again. As an investor, you can make more money in other assets 100% because of the selling pressure. Flare will look better if you want to hold 2 or more years, but during that time, there are better assets. Yeah, I hear you, man. I'm just looking at it for the point of view that it's literally like at the bottom right now. But I mean, yeah, I guess there's, technically speaking, I could have put more money into like XRP and stuff like that. But I just decided, I was like, you know what, for myself, this is something I'm going to do. I didn't go like bat-ish crazy on it. But I decided to pull the trigger on that one. And, crypto.com is so easy anyway, so it was no big deal. All right, guys, we're going to get to the last bit of coverage of what we have for you guys tonight. It's regards to QNT, Quant. Shout out to the one and only Quant Papa bringing it when it comes to the deep dive. So we're going to jump into this. It's not the same type of thing that you've seen before. It is different. If anything, it might be, I don't know if you want to say it's like a follow-up, but where the case be, it's good. It's good stuff. And yeah, we're going to get into it. I'm going to put the branding on. I'm going to show you guys the new little thing. All right. It's kind of cool. Maybe you don't think it's cool. I think it's kind of cool. All right. A little bit more sharper than it was before. All right. So let's see here. Papa's in the house. He is? Is that really you? Huh, I don't know if it is. Well, welcome. If that's Quant Papa, welcome. Maybe it's a different Papa, though. Anyway. All right. So, yeah, I think I have it on the screen here. I'm just going to clear out some tabs real quick. My bad. Let me just clear out some tabs. Let me see how much time I got. I got roughly, I don't know, 45 minutes or something like that. I should have it done long before then. All right. So I want to share this. This is from Quant Papa. When they call me Quant Papa. Let me see if I can pull up some of the notes he had real quick. I might not even need the notes. Right? I think I got most of this memorized. Let me just load this up real quick. Let me see. Yeah, this is some of the Discord notes. There's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of going up. I think sometimes Quant Papa wonders what deep dive I'm gonna get to. You gotta keep in mind there's a whole grocery list that we can get into. We haven't even covered everything, you know. All right, let's see here. Wow, he just gave me a whole other grocery list. This guy is just an AI, you know. He just boom, you know, like crazy. He's got crazy stuff all day long, all day. Okay, well, I will not be able to even get to that part that I wanted to get into because Quant Papa went ballistic with the freaking deep dive stuff. My God. 31 new messages since 6:45 alone, and it's just, oh, geez, you got some more about that KPMG for me, huh? Yeah, eat that, Mr. Never mind. I'm not gonna do it. Never mind. Wow. All right. Well, we'll get into that in another day. That'll be a part 3. All right, I got enough. I don't need to get back into Discord, so I apologize. Let me get into what we have. Here it is. Let's start off right from the Bank of International Settlements. And we're going to start a new project that you might not be aware of. We always talked about, for instance, Project Hamilton, Dunbar. We talked about a lot of things. Rosalind, you name it, right? Icebreaker. What about this one? Were you aware about Project Mandela? No, not Nelson Mandela, right? But yeah, I want to share this with you guys because it's a big deal in regards to Quant. So straight from the BIS, as you can see, Project Mandela shaping the future of cross-border payments and compliance. You do see some of the other ones referenced here. You have the Bank of Australia, Bank of Korea. Remember how many times we use that example about Bank of Korea? I would always use it for ISO 222. We'll see what you want. There's an example. You have Bank of Negara, Malaysia, which is the Central Bank of Malaysia. And then you also have the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Now, back to this whole thing about Project Mandela and why I'm sharing it with you guys tonight. And again, thank you to Quant Papa. This explores the feasibility of encoding jurisdiction-specific policy and regulatory requirements into a common protocol for cross-border use cases such as foreign direct investment, borrowing, and payments. Disparate policy and regulatory frameworks between different jurisdictions are among the chief obstacles to smooth and efficient cross-border payments. Now, we do know that. But listen to this. Were you aware that this is going to contribute to the regulatory compliance burden across the payment chain? Now, before we get more into this, this is where standards and understanding standards is such a key thing for you, especially if you're a QNT holder, and understanding the bigger picture and understanding Gilbert Verdi and his connections, obviously, to the UK finance ministry and everything he's been tied into, the Digital Pound Foundation. Yeah, he resigned, but that's not the point. He doesn't stick with the same company unless it's his one that he literally created, right, with Quant Network. He doesn't stick with them forever. He doesn't marry the companies. And if anything, some of us don't even marry crypto. But I might be marrying QNT, right? But that's besides the point. The point is standards, and the UK leading the charge in regards to those standards. So this thing about this regulatory compliance and that burden across their payment chain, how it increases the time for cross-border transactions, introduces uncertainties among stakeholders. Project Mandela is a proof of concept run by BISIH Singapore Center, the Reserve Bank of Australia, the Bank of Korea, the Bank of Malaysia, and the Monetary Authority of Singapore. This is a collaboration, and in regards to this collaboration, it's going to be with other financial institutions who do what? Are seeking to ease the policy and regulatory compliance burden by automating compliance procedures, providing, I should say, real-time transaction monitoring and increasing transparency and visibility around country-specific policies. They do reference Project Dunbar here. You've heard Lewis Jackson, aka Crypto Lulu, talk about quite a bit late last year. I want to give you a little bit of an update in regards to this. So in regards to these country-specific policies, This is going to aim to address key challenges identified during Project Dunbar. And of course, that's developed by this whole thing of experimental multiple central bank digital currency and CBDC platforms. This, of course, envisioned compliance by design architecture, and it can, or I should say, could enable a more efficient cross-border transfer for any digital asset, including CBDCs. Now, when we get more into this outline, you're going to get to see the point of why I'm making a big deal about this, and if anything, why Quant Papa is as well, because we're tying the whole thing with Quant. But the bottom line is being able to have that compliance and make it more efficient for this whole thing of CBDCs. Tokenized deposits, right? It says it could also serve as the foundation compliance layer for legacy and nascent wholesale retail payments. Going down to this part, measures can include quantifiable and configurable foreign exchange rules, money laundering measures, you name it, even terrorism measures, crazy stuff. Fast forward to 2023, there's a priority in regards to Project Mandela. It's going to allow for the achievement of G20 that is going to target enhancing cross-border payments in the area of promoting efficient legal, regulatory, and supervisory environment for cross-border payments while maintaining their safety, security, and, of course, integrity. Now, with everything mentioned there, I know it's a lot to take in, but it had to be the necessary intro for you just don't think like, what the heck is he talking about later, all right? So you did see some of these ones, and it's referenced from the BIS. And, of course, some of these are the ones like I showed earlier, Bank of Korea, Reserve Bank, all these ones. Again, Bank of Korea. Remember how many times they use the example of like the Bank of Greece and then sending a cross-border payment or overseas payment to the Bank of Korea? Yeah, I wasn't just making that up. I thought it was a great example. But the key thing I want to share with you guys is this demo. And it's unlisted, by the way. Funny how that works. So Quant Papa is, on some things, able to release some info. On some things, he's not. I'm glad to be able to share this with you because I am getting so sick and tired, to be honest, of people doubting Quant. But at the end of the day, in reality, none of it's financial advice, so maybe I shouldn't get sick about it. But somebody in the comments stated they wanted to see a demo, okay? So this is a demo. It's partial. It's a CBDC sandbox. And I want you to think about this for a second. This is also, of course, it's unlisted. It's a direct link, but it comes from the Bank of International Settlements, and it's about 5.5 minutes. So we're going to tie in this, of course, with the whole thing with Quant. We are obviously understand that Bank of International Settlements has selected Quant Network, especially when it comes to the Overledger to get the job done. But there's another thing that definitely needs to be brought to your attention in regards to the bigger picture of Quant. Now, before we get into it, we're going to share this segment. So again, please smash that like. This is about 5 minutes and 18 seconds. Here we go.
Hi, welcome to the Project Dunbar demo on Dyor Sandbox. For Demo 1, we'll be performing a cross-CBDC transfer from SG to AU, where UOB will perform a SGD to AUD transfer using DBS as a settlement bank to complete the PVP. As you can see, we have already set up a UOB SGD CBDC wallet with 10 SGD funded. The corresponding bank DBS also has its wallet set up with a balance of 0 now. Under non-local banks for the AUD CBDC, the UOB AU wallet has been set up as shown with a balance of 0. We will now then proceed to perform the cross CBDC transfer from UOB SG to UOB AU. We will select UOB SG as the payer and UOB AU as the payee. For the purpose of this demo, DBS has already been set up as the settlement bank for this SGD AUD PVP. The FX rate is quoted as shown, but do note that this will be a snapshot of the rate from August. We will now proceed to transfer 10 SGD. there will be two transfers that will happen, one from UOB to DBS and another from DBS to UOB. The first transfer will start by generating an instruction ID, which will be used as the end-to-end ID later on. After which, the pre-validation conditions that have been programmed in the smart contract will be effected on UOB SG by DBS SG. Once this is done, a ACSP status code will be returned. The completion of the first transfer will be indicated by ACCC. Now, the second transfer of AUD from DBS to UOB will be initiated. A new instruction ID will be generated on the AUD CBDC network. This time, the end-to-end ID will be matched to the first transfer's instruction ID. The pre-validation conditions will be performed and completed on DBS and UOB AU. The completion of this will be indicated by an ACSP code again. The second DBS to UOB AUD transfer has been completed, and this completes this cross-border CBDC PPP. We can also see that the end-to-end ID matches the instruction ID from the SGD payment. We can now see that the balance in UOB's AUD wallet has been updated to 10.18 AUD CBDC. Similarly, we can see the balance in UOB SGD wallet, and that has been updated to 0 SGD, as well as DBS SGD wallet has also been updated to 10 SGD. We will now proceed to Demo 2, where we will be performing a domestic AUD transfer from UOB to CBA's wallet. We will set UOB as the payer and the transfer amount as 10.18. The payee will be set as CBA's wallet for the transfer. The pre-validation conditions will be performed and completed on CBA and UOB AU. The completion of this will be indicated by an ACSP status code. We can see that the domestic transfer has now been completed, indicated by ACCC. We can now see that the balance in CBA's AUD wallet has been updated to 10.18. Likewise, in UOB AUD's wallet, the balance has been updated to 0. Thank you for your time, and we have come to the end of this demo.
All right. So some of you guys who may not be, I don't know, on par with the whole thing, that's okay. The bottom line is that is a demo of Parshore, which is a CBDC sandbox. And for some people, they were wondering, like, do you have a demo? Well, that answers that. Now, some people, they're excited about it. Some people, there aren't. Maybe it seems a little bit boring, but if you understand the bigger picture of things, then you understand how big that is. For one, it was unlisted. Number two, I want to show you this. Why share that, Max? Great question. So for one, I'm going to pull this back up on the little branding thing because I like that thing. I'm going to get into this. The demo, Parshore, CBDC Sandbox, Bank for International Settlements. Project Dunbar worked with who? Parshore to successfully deploy this multi-CBDC platform. All right. Of course, getting more into this, I'm going to give you an example. And look what it's cited right from who? The Quant network. As you can see, that in the banker, who is this outlet that provides global financial intelligence since 1926, goes on to mention that sorry about that. I clicked on the wrong thing. Yeah, provides information from 1926 They provide newsletters, updates, right? They're just another outlet. But the thing is, there was a piece where they and, of course, Gilbert Verdian, a Quant network, discussed Project Caesar Phase 2 times Ubin Plus. Now, on the previous channel, I did a deep dive about this. And maybe you didn't get the most amount of views. That's not the point. The point was a lot of times in late 2022, going to early 2023, I got a lot of criticism of people saying I was full of crap when it came to the whole thing of the New York Fed. We also have the whole thing of MIT and this whole thing of Quant, right? With a CBDC test pilot, if you will. And then later on, verified that that was a real thing, right? So this project, yes, from MAS and the New York Fed to improve what wholesale cross-border settlement using multiple currencies, okay? Now, here's the short explanation because I don't want to get into the big, long article. But this guy, Bill Lumley, of course, has it if you want it. It's on banker.com if you want to nerd it out. Quant Network gave the examples, and it says CBDCs use underlying distributed ledger technologies that is well placed to solve many wholesale settlement issues. This project examines the data structure, and format of CBDCs, specifically how to improve atomic settlement. Gilbert Verdian explains that it enables interoperability and security, giving each central bank, listen to this, participant jurisdictional autonomy, the future of finance today. Now, to get into the real juicy stuff, why point out some of this stuff to you guys? Well, here's some of the notes, okay? And here's what I'm allowed to share without getting too much trouble, because obviously I've been in trouble once, and I don't want Quant Papa to get any more trouble either. Background. Project Ubin and multi-CBDCs. Phase 5, and this is the biggest I can make it, so I do apologize. Let me see if I can come back. Yeah, I'm a full screen this. This is good. Phase 5 of Project Ubin successfully deployed a prototype multi-currency wholesale settlement network which enabled issuance or distribution of several digital currencies on a common network. Now think about this for a second. Participants on the network and their customers can transact with other participants on the network directly and around the clock, most instantly or almost instantly, in the different supported currencies. For one, DBS Bank, JP Morgan, yes, you read right, JP Morgan, and Temasek are now leading the development of a live production-grade network, transacting on commercial bank money, built on the learnings from Project Ubin with pilot trials that happened, of course, back in 2021. Fast forward, of course, to where we're at now, but it also mentions here back then that the successful completion of the experimental project, since then, I should say, there have been various projects experimenting with similar models. The global interest points towards the viability of using multiple central bank issued digital currency, CBDCs, now commonly known as MCBDC, and its potential for improving cross-border payments. In the recent paper titled Multi-CBDC Arrangements and the Future of Cross-Border Payments, published by the Bank of International Settlements, 3 models of MCBDC were proposed, and here are those 3 models. Number 1, Model 1, MCBDC arrangements based on compatible CBDC systems. Again, think about this for a second. Number 2, Model 2, MCBDC arrangements based on linking multiple CBDC systems. I mean, come on, guys. It's literally, the writing is on the wall. Number 3, MCBDC arrangements based on single multi-currency system. Now, in regards to models 2 and 3, they are particularly of interest because they are the direct connectivity between central banks and how they could reduce the need for intermediaries and enable direct transactions between participants. In network topology design, there are 2 main paradigms, point-to-point, where each network node is connected to all nodes, and hub and spoke, where a central hub connects all nodes. and of course the transactions routed through it. I know it's out of the screen, but I couldn't make it any bit bigger. Now this one I'll blow up a little bit bigger. I'm going to show you this diagram. I'm still out of the screen. That doesn't matter. This is just good examples. Let me take off the branding right there so it doesn't block anything. Check out this for a second. Asset transfer mechanism on this particular graph. This gives you a nice visual of this CBDC system. Okay. So you see, for instance, how this all works. For instance, a user, their wallet, how it gets sent to bank A. And then, for instance, the central bank right in the middle, the motion of this, even from bank B. But what about that bridge gateway, right? And how it, sends it down to the bridge between them and the buyer. And you know how we always talk about carbon credits? Well, we don't talk about all the time. But there's even a carbon credit exchange between the two. What about the outside connected mechanisms, right? The seller, for instance, was cited here, the Bank of Korea. So all those examples I gave you guys in the past of, ISO 222 and, garbled up messages with that being sent over to, from the Bank of Greece to the Bank of Korea. Well, now you finally have a little bit of actual visual. All right, goes on to mention that on the contrary, the asset exchange mechanism involves exchange of assets and money issued on separate ledgers between participating parties in transactions. This approach primarily employs atomic swap type smart contracts. For example, hash time lock contracts, which is referred to as HTLC. This mechanism does not necessitate a direct linkage, of course, between the asset ledger and the money ledger. However, at present, though, research and experimentation on HTLCs, again, those are hash time lock contracts, are underway. Nevertheless, it is worth noting that the asset exchange mechanism could prove challenging to implement for transactions involving 3 or more parties. Moreover, the processing speed for transactions by utilizing this mechanism may be relatively moderate. Consequently, its applicability may be restricted, especially in cases involving substantial, and listen to this part if you have lost or fell asleep, I don't know, because it's kind of dry, substantial transaction volumes. Ooh, with smaller amounts per individual transaction. Now, here's the key highlight. In Project Cedar times Ubin Plus, the New York Fed, that's right, the New York Fed and the Monetary Authority of Singapore, which is the MAS, have recently explored potential approaches to enhance wholesale, cross-border, multi-currency payments and settlements involving the utilization of just that HTLC. Again, those hash time lock contracts. All right, let me jump into this. I'll come back in the frame on this one. All right, why share some of this stuff? Well, for one, why not? But here is what was cited back from Quant, the Quant network, all right, like we just shared with you before. Gilbert Veridian discussed Project Cedar Phase 2 Ubin and, of course, the project between MAS and the New York Fed, right? Been there, done that. Let me jump to this. Another thing that was needing to be referenced, and I'll come back out of the frame for this one for you can see it, is this part that's highlighted towards the bottom. And it says, for instance, in regards to the source, let's start top left. The Bank of Korea, where's some of the considerations in regards to this? Laws and regulations. I'm not going to read all that. But the key thing is this. It talks about tokenized deposits and how they've been designed to closely resemble, listen to this, traditional deposits in structure, with the only difference being the technical form factor utilizing blockchain tech. You want an example? You better believe we're going to give you an example. Applying the burn and issue transfer process similar to the existing fast payment system and having a private key under a bank's custody both mirror the current and operation of deposits. Moreover, to eliminate the legal or any legal uncertainty, the FFC plans to apply its financial regulatory what? Did you not see the key things I shared with you earlier? Sandbox regimens or regimes I can't even pronounce that right anymore, to the issuance, excuse me, and circulation of DCI by banks. Right. So again, plain as day, burn an issue transfer process, because some of you guys ask about, like, on some of these ones, how do we go about burning some of it? And then what about this? How do we tie in that example that we just shared from the Bank of International Settlements in regards to that specific sandbox? Again, boom, right there. Now, getting into a little bit more about this, I'll leave this screen up. Talks about Project Cedar and Ubin again, right? So above that, I don't know why this part isn't highlighted, but that's okay. It says, indeed, the off-chain information exchange remains crucial for transactions between trading parties. But in regards to Project Cedar times Ubin Plus, the New York Fed and the Monetary Authority of Singapore have recently explored potential approaches to enhance, of course, wholesale cross-border multi-currency payments and settlements, involving what? The utilization of HTLCs. All right, in closing, before we get, I think we're almost at closing, about 90% done. Let's pull this up. Gilbert Verdian is cited here. This is something you want to pay attention to. So Gilbert stated a while back, let me see how long ago. Actually, not that long ago. It was October 5th. I read that wrong. So literally, was that 4 days ago? Yeah. It doesn't matter. It's not really time sensitive, but this is good stuff. See how we tie in things from the past? So we went back to 2021, did we not? Now some of you guys are like, maybe some of the criticism, like, can you give me something new, Max? I don't want to read all that old stuff. All right, I hear you, but again, it's a nice outline. Gilbert Verdian states, we've recently announced Quant Protect, our cybersecurity services for enterprises transforming their business models, applications, and workflows to digital assets and blockchain. With a nascent technology, the technical and security challenges for enterprises to adopt new tech safely into their business environments are high. Yeah, like to say the least. 2022 highlighted the risk to digital assets and money if the underlying code is insecure or contains vulnerabilities that malicious actors exploit for their gain. Now listen to this stat for size. Almost 4 billion USD was lost, of course, in 2022 alone. Smart contracts, because we know that, when it comes to Quant Network, we have all sorts of different examples in regards to secure smart contracts. They have evolved to be mission-critical components of an organization's digital asset strategy. Underlying empowering digital asset transactions relied upon by institutions and users of those services. Now listen to this part also. Using a combination of static and dynamic analysis with expert assessment, we've developed new tools and methodologies to protect against this increasing threat. Hence why we did that piece not that long ago in regards to this new smart audit. I mean, it is a really, really big deal. But Quant Network, especially Gilbert Verdian, stating that with smart audit, they're able to start this whole thing of enterprise security solution for companies designing and writing smart contracts to assess and remediate any security risks in an automated way, which can be integrated into release and deployment pipelines. So remember earlier we were just talking about the whole thing of, Flare, right? That's a big deal. And that's obviously the solution. How would you like to have something in which now, because we're comparing the two, now you can have, for instance, this thing with Quant's Overledger, because you can take their tech, if you will, with Flare and basically be able to remediate, like it says, any security risk in an automated way, and can integrate this into basically any pipeline. Any. That's a big deal. This will complement even that. I think that's a good thing to have this work with other ones. I mean, isn't that the whole point of Quant? Interoperability, but also complementing systems, current systems, old systems, and new systems. Flare is a new system. I mean, it's young, right? As an additional layer of security, your smart contracts can be protected even further with Overledger to authorize and securely co-sign smart contracts to protect against key management risk and on-chain attacks. So for me, let's say, again, back to that example in regards to Flare. I have, for instance, a project that I'm building on the XRPL. And if anything, it's like, well, I realize that's, Flare allows me to have that plug, if you will, when it comes to smart contract functionality. And now I want to take it to the next level. Again, enter into, the whole thing with Quant, right? Goes more into this. It says, protect against key management risk and on-chain attacks. We are bringing, as in Quant Network, our heritage in cybersecurity to make the transition to digital asset, enterprise grade, interoperable, and secure. Yeah, basically what I just said. And of course, you could contact them on how to do that. But that's the disclaimer. He's not sending this out to us as in retail investors for our own reference. That is more pointed towards, hey, we're open for business to who the institutional grade players of the world, that Quant is here to thrive and that they're here to tokenize not just assets, but they're here to get smart contracts done by making them what? More secure and creating that pipeline, literally like it just said earlier, to make it all come together, and I think that's a big deal. Like this right here, integrate into release and deployment pipelines. I mean, that example in regards to Flare, I think that is a good analogy. Absolutely. Now, there's a little bit more that I need to share. Let me see how I'm doing my time. So I'm going to have to wrap this up here soon. I'm going to have to go rapid fire. This is another thing that Quant Papa wants to bring to our attention, and we're going to tie this all in. So this guy, David Cunningham, I want you to pay attention to this as well. This is really, really good coverage because some of you guys have tagged me in regards to the whole thing of City. You may think on crypto Twitter, I tag Max, but I don't know if he sees everything. I try to see as much as I can, there's some things that slip through, but you got to keep in mind, I do try to pay attention to all of it. And I have seen some you guys who've been tagging me, Max, what about this whole thing, QNT and City? Can you look more into that? Hey, I'm here. Let's get into it. So David Cunningham, head of strategy and partnerships for digital assets, treasury, and trade solutions at what City? He has this quote, and I think this is worth sharing. He says, the world of cross-border payments is at an inflection point as the ecosystem, again, remember this, ecosystem is shaken up by a new, competition and the technologies. There will inevitably be winners and losers. Yeah, no kidding. All players must remain nimble and adapt if they are to retain their market share and thrive. That's why I was talking about thriving earlier. Citi's latest Future of Finance GPS report is out, and Ronit Ghost and the team have done it again. It's tremendous. It details, and I want you to listen to this because we did talk about Bank of International Settlements, so you better believe we got to talk about the Bank of England at some point. You never dismiss them. This talks about how the Bank of England estimates cross-border climate payments is set, and I guess I just want to state this, okay? This is the juicy, right? The juicy stuff that you've been waiting for. Set to increase from 150 trillion in 2017 to what? Over 250 trillion by 2027. This is how we get to those crazy market caps that some of you guys just don't think is ever going to happen. That means billions in revenue. The cross-border payments revenue pie is already at over 200 billion and expanding at a high single-digit annual growth rate. You also see how digital assets, of course, will play a significant role. I mean, I know I'm reading lots for verbatim, but in reality, it's hard to just take pieces of this and just say, oh, here's the quick summary, because when you look more into it, it's like, yeah, I didn't want to leave that out. I didn't really want to leave that out. And I don't think you guys would appreciate too much if I left a lot of it out. Here's this other quote. This is from Jane Fraser, okay? She states, our industry is on a journey to reach the next phase of evolution with cross-border payments. We're partnering closely with financial institutions, fintechs, corporates, and industry experts, all whom have contributed their perspectives in this paper to continue building best-in-class experiences for clients and using technologies such as AI, digital assets to make it happen. Now, again, Remember when I tied in the whole thing of what? Aladdin, and how I tie that into, for instance, the institutions, and I did the whole Quant connection. Right there is the writing on the wall yet again. Okay? So, getting down into this part about it. This comes from Shamir Khalik. Who is he? He's the global head of services of who? Citi. Some of you guys call it Citibank, but Citi. Future cross-border payments, who will be moving 250 trillion in the next 5 years. The world of cross-border payments as an inflection point. The ecosystem is going to blow up, right? It's inevitable. But he goes on to this part about where he mentions specifically 24/7 real-time experience, both domestically and across borders, in regards to the evolving landscape and the changing of behaviors of transparent, streamlined tech. Talks about specifically competition and how it's increasing in regards to multifaceted industries, the payments that are moving away from the traditional instruction methods, which are tied into batch files, so on and so forth. But look what he says here. They feel as though they need to move toward application program interface, API. We know that Quant stands out in regards to APIs, big time, right? Like literally like the king when it comes to that. And it says, for instance, connectivity. This is a leading thing that is going to this heightened opportunity for both fintechs and other participants that will be enabled through traditional financial infrastructures. Regulation is also increasingly fostering innovation via initiatives such as open banking. And there has been a consequent increase in players that deliver tech, right? Who are some of those players? Think about it, guys. Nimbly and leverage digital client experiences as a differentiating. Can't say it anymore tonight. I read too much sometimes. Differentiating, factor. Okay. All right. Jumping into this next part, what we have, there's about 2 videos, really good videos to get into. And so here it is. This was from October 5th. So you guys want some of that new news, right? So I tie in the old and bring you the new. Shout to Quant Papa. Citi developing what? Token services for who? Institutional clients. October 5th, 2023, Citi announced recently it's developing a tokenization service for cash management and trade finance for institutional clients using what? Blockchain tech and smart contracts. Ryan Rugg, what a name, right? God, Ryan Rugg, please don't start a meme token. And Stephen Randall from Citi's Treasury and Trade Solutions discussed the move and what kind of interest they are seeing from institutional clients. We're going to go ahead and jump into this. This will be the final bit of our coverage tonight, and it's going to be a video. This comes from CoinDesk. We do cite them quite often, and you know who this lady is for the most part. This is 8 minutes and 40 seconds. It needs to be played. If Quant is your thing and generational wealth is your game, then smash that like, because you want to know something? I don't need to hype it up. Quant speaks for itself. Here we go.
Citi announced recently it's developing token services for institutional clients. Joining us now to discuss is Ryan Rugg, Global Head of Digital Assets for Citi's Treasury and Trade Solutions, along with Stephen Randall, Global Head of Liquidity Management Services for Citi Treasury and Trade Solutions. Welcome to the show, Ryan and Stephen.
Hi there.
Thanks for having us. All right, let's talk about this pilot. There was a pilot for Citi token services. Smart contracts were used to serve the same purpose as bank guarantees and letters of credit. You work with shipping company Maersk. Talk to us about what happened. What was the benefit here for Maersk?
No, that's great. Thanks for the question. I appreciate it. So last month, we announced Citi token services for cash and for trade. And what we did was we took tokenized deposits and we pre-funded a smart contract for trade. So in this case with Maersk, if they were passing through a canal, they were able to pre-fund a smart contract. And if a set of conditions were met, the funds were released. And you could think about in trade, it's a very paper-ridden business operationally, and typically only works during banking hours. So really adding efficiency for that. And for the cash piece, I'll turn it over to Stephen, who's head of liquidity for Citi.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So in terms of what we do in liquidity management services, we help clients manage their cash and liquidity. So what City Token Services does, it aims to address those client pain points with the current settlement systems. And so what we did with this effectively for the MERS transaction is we used and leveraged that City Token Services for cash and tokenized those deposits on blockchain in order to be able to reduce friction and make it more seamless for our clients.
So does this actually, was there a need for doing it on blockchain? Why couldn't it be done on a centralized database? What kind of things can be offset, if you will? You talk about liquidity here. What kind of tokens were exchanged in the process to do all this? And is there any connection with the overall markets that somebody, let's say, could offset the risk using crypto markets, for instance?
Yeah, so what City Token Services for Cash does is it uses tokenized deposits on an internal blockchain to enable corporate clients to move money between their accounts around the City network instantaneously on a 24/7 basis. The first two branches that we're using are New York and Singapore for internal US dollar transactions. So this service aims to reduce the friction of that client liquidity management by leveraging it internally, and so the clients get the benefits externally. So hopefully that helps answer that question.
Well, Ryan, you were saying?
Yeah. And if you think about, I get asked that question all the time. Do you need a blockchain? Why are you using a blockchain? Could another technology have been used? And it's not about the technology. It's about what our clients want. And what our clients want is cross-border multi-bank liquidity. Right? They want to be able to move money 24/7, 365 and make it programmable. So for that, the best technology, and we evaluated numerous, to be honest, was a permission blockchain. Because if you think of the work that we've done with the regulated liability network and the Fed and a consortium of banks, how do you connect disparate parties that don't normally trust one another into one ledger? So yes, today with an internal use case, do you technically need a blockchain? No. But in the future, to be able to provide that 24/7 cross-border, cross-bank liquidity, you do.
And what sort of platform did you use? Was it based off of Ethereum? What exactly were you using here for it?
Yeah, we used ERC20 tokens, EVM compatible. It was a private permission version of Ethereum that we were on. But open source, it was very important that we're future-proofing our infrastructure also.
Notice how she just kind of danced around that? Are you guys paying attention to this? ERC20 and was private? Probably because of NDA, right? Think about it for a second. I mean, really, when you dive more into it, let's play this a little bit more. And she talked about not being a blockchain. As we know, Quant network is blockchain agnostic. So some people say, but she mentioned ERC20. Again, what the heck is Quant? So much more than ERC20 token. That should be your proof. That should be a aha moment right there. I'm going to play a little more, but I just didn't want you guys to just let that go over your head, okay? And sometimes I have to do stuff like that. Let's play a little more.
And what kind of interest are you seeing from institutional clients? I mean, is this something that, because there's a lot of, different accounts out there about institutions' interest in this kind of thing. Are you seeing a strong interest?
Yeah, absolutely. We've definitely seen a lot of interest in this, which is very positive in the market. And, as mentioned, this is just one of the solutions that Citi is developing. But, COVID exacerbated this digital economy that we're in and a need for always on infrastructure. And how are we going to be able to provide that? And City Token Services is one of them. So, the first two use cases that we kind of rolled out that we're live with are for cash and for trade. But with the aspirations of kind of expanding that, as I mentioned, with RLN and other initiatives that we're working on.
Any plans to use a public blockchain?
That's a great question. That's going to really depend on regulation, right? Currently, right now, we do not operate in the gray area, right? And with the regulatory regime that we're in and the guidance that we have, we can only be on permission change. So we have no aspirations unless regulation changes to going public.
On the topic of
I have to inject one more time. So all the references that we mentioned earlier in regards to regulation. Here's the other thing that's beautiful about Quant's over ledger being blockchain agnostic. Think about what she just mentioned. They're literally trying to hammer on like, which blockchain, because I mean, that would be massive news if she just came out and basically said it. But in regards to regulations, right, we understand that basically it's like, wow, by having this not be specific to one blockchain, Quant Network being blockchain agnostic, that's game changer. If you think about it, it's like she doesn't have to commit to one specific blockchain at all. That takes that element out of it to begin with. If anything, and she could even use a few, right? So again, she already let the cat out of the bag when she mentioned ERC-20, and also from a private point of view. She also mentions in regards to like, well, the whole thing with regulations. So it's like, okay, you are, but you're not. And if you are, but you're not, it's like, then who is that? And again, draw your own conclusion, right? I mean, I'm not trying to convince anybody. I just bring you guys the presented material. We're going to play a bit more about this because I actually have to get going here soon. But this should open your eyes, to say least. This is all recent news. So the old news, the new news. Let's play the last bit of this. Here we go.
Regulation, when you're doing pilots with companies like Maersk, what kind of questions are they asking when it comes to regulation? Are things like the Sam Bankman-Fried trial affecting how they view the technology and they view working with you on projects like this?
So we've made it seamless into our infrastructure, and that was by design. So we've obfuscated all of the complexities with a blockchain and made it seamless for our clients. So, you log onto your typical Citi Direct account or through an API and have like a seamless experience. So for them, it's not a lot of questions about, kind of what's going on in the space, because they know that from a, infrastructure standpoint, it's fully integrated into our systems.
So, Stephen, and then Ryan, what kind of institutions are you guys seeing asking for these kind of services? We asked if there was any interest, but how does it look? Obviously, Maersk, a big shipping company, but anybody else?
Yeah, I'll take that first and then pass over to Ryan. I think across the spectrum, if you think about the client base we serve, there's a diverse interest across different sectors. So some of those clients are further advanced in their thinking in this space, and so in terms of the test transactions that we do, they are the first. But others are still sort of evolving their thinking. So the way I would think about it is, as we evolve and we're at the sort of the innovation stage of this, there are certain clients that are partnering with us on this through the test phase, and others that will come on board as they've seen others and they've seen the use cases evolve.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Definitely more innovative clients we're kind of engaged with right now that are, testing it and making sure that from a, it's actually serving their use case and helping us to like really co-develop and collaborate with us on our roadmap as well. We want to make sure that this, really solves the pain point that they're trying to do, and with always on infrastructure, 24/7, 365. So if it's 5 p.m. in New York on Friday and 5 a.m. in Singapore, they're able to send money, to be able to have that, because currently right now, like, liquidity is trapped in many different areas, and it's an inefficient use of liquidity, being able to not, having to send it, 2 or 3 days prior versus being able to, invest it in our money. So really being able to enable our clients to do that, and especially like the kind of the early adopters in this program.
But besides shipping, any other industries?
Yeah, we've seen multiple industries interest, especially, now that we have the announcement out there that where it's really diverse, because anything that you can think of, like where you have paper written contracts, right, to be able to pre-fund them and automate that process. And so if, in this case with Maersk, if a set of services were received, so if the ship received fuel or was washed or whatever the case is, the conditions are met, the funds are automatically released versus having to have, paper written kind of contracts. So you could see the applicability in multiple different industries across the space here.
Yeah, it's not one sector, it's not one industry. It's depending on the footprint of that sector or industry and their evolution in that space as to their adaptability of this.
Stephen, Ryan, thanks so much for joining the show this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Very much.
That was Ryan Rugg and Stephen Randall from Citi's Treasury and Trade Solutions business.
Okay. In closing, and I'm gonna do my best to just read this a bit of comments here in a second, but I do have to close this out real quick, and I want to finish this. All right. I want you guys to see this because it's good stuff. So we're gonna share this part because some of you newcomers may be wondering, like, well, is there anything really in regards to Quant and City? And the answer is definitely 100% yes. So here's something from a while back in regards to just that, and it is straight from the Quant network. Let's go ahead and cite this and bring it up on your screen. And basically speaking, you see this posted originally on April 11, 2023, and it talks about Citi and how they predicted 4 trillion of tokenized assets, right? And you know, you got to keep in mind, like it says, banking giant expects 4 trillion to 5 trillion. Let me just come back into the frame for a second. Yeah, 4 to 5 trillion of tokenized digital securities, right? Think about the securities, and 1 trillion of distributed ledger technology-based trade finance volumes by 2030. It goes into all sorts of detail. On the far right, we believe we are approaching an inflection point where the promised potential of blockchain will be realized and be measured in billions of users and trillions of dollars in value. Billions and trillions. Crazy stuff, right? And if anything, we actually have this higher when we enter into some of the other ones, right? We talk about these Bitcoin and SPY ETFs. There's a lot of money that's going to be coming and flowing into this space of crypto, okay? They have this other report here, basically. It says, get ready for a CBDC. Versions of the euro, the British pound, the Indian rupee. Together, these 4 jurisdictions constitute more than 25% of the global population and 22% of global bank deposits. Hence why they think CBDCs could have at least 2 billion users and 5 trillion plus in circulation, and half could be using partly DLT linked models. Why is the U.S. largest bank so bullish on CBDCs? Of course, 4 key things. More big countries are catching up. They have this whole thing of billions of users, like they talked about earlier. The tech, talking about also how money can be mobilized. I'll end on this part. Central banks estimate to 20% of deposits, and how that can transact to newer digital money formats, and how 5 trillion of CBDC circulating in major economies in the world in this decade, half would be basically on DLT. So it's crazy stuff. You can talk about how the world's assets will be tokenized. Again, back to the whole thing of Larry Fink. And in closing, basically speaking, I want to just share this closing remarks, closing comments I have with you, because I do really have to really wrap it up. And I do see a super chat came in. I do appreciate it. I'll get in that in just a second. So here's my own notes. Some people are wondering, does Quant Network have a partnership with Citi? The answer is yes. Welcome to the channel, just in case you weren't caught up on some of this stuff. So basically, the partnership was originally announced September of 2021, if you're wondering where that reference comes from. And of course, it aimed to explore the potential of blockchain tech to transform the financial industry. One of the key areas of focus in regards to that partnership, since you're probably wondering about that, is the development of central bank digital currencies, hence why this outline tonight talks specifically about that. In regards to Quant Network's Overledger, that platform provides, of course, a way to connect different blockchain systems and networks to just that, to make it interoperable with the CBDC system. No kidding. Now, in addition to this specific partnership, it also explores the use of blockchain tech to tokenize, of course, assets, hence why we cover this all the time, such as securities and even real estate. Shout out to Will Fix talking about the whole thing with real estate. And we'll do a collaboration in regards to more talk of the tokenization of real estate. As we know that this is going to help financial markets be more efficient, accessible in a wider range for just that, investors and so on. This partnership in regards to Quant Network and Citi is so significant for numerous reasons, but let me just double check my notes. Basically for blockchain industry, but it shows that there is major financial institutions that are increasingly interested in blockchain tech to improve just that, their flow, their operations, and how they go about this new monetary system that's going to happen. In addition to the partnerships with Citi, Quant Network also, of course, partners with various other ones, big ones, including leading financial institutions. According to SIA, we cover that numerous times. Shout out to Tokenizer as well. He does it. UST, no, not the one from Terra, different one. And of course, R3 is so huge, massive. These partnerships, if you're wondering, demonstrate how the Quant Networks has a commitment to working with the financial industry to develop and implement just that, blockchain solutions. So in closing, do you hold QNT? Do you understand the greater picture of it? Or are you getting flooded out by people who have simply not taken the proper deep dive in regards to the research? If the research trumps flood 110%, why aren't you standing by the research? You know what you hold and you know why you hold it. So in closing, I'm going to read the last bit of the comments, the super chat, and then I have to go. I hope that you guys enjoyed the coverage that was shared here tonight. And a big up and thanks to the one and only Quant Papa for his great research that both him and I will continue to bring and inform the people of the world, whether we're at 1,500 subs or 150,000 subs. So with that said, I'm going to read the last ones. And I also just going to fast track through this because I really got to go because this place is going to close in 20 minutes and I got to pick up some stuff. But it's all right. I've been there like 5 minutes before they close. This regards to my dad's medication. It's literally one like a quarter of a mile away. But anyway, Z, Jeff Pruden, glad to see you. Thank you for being here. Brett Haslam, glad to see you as well. Just fast tracking through this. There's Will Fix. Hey man, good to see you. Glad to see you. I'm kind of really fast tracking through this. I want to welcome A_E ADHD. That's funny. I want to welcome you, and I'm glad to have you here. We hope to see more of you. I really mean that. I'm sorry if I'm fast tracking through a lot of comments. Hopefully, you guys got rid of some of the bad chat in the comments because we don't want to get the channel taken down. All right, so let's see here. What's the least? I would go with at least 10 Q&T, not financial advice. You should make that your goal, personally. And let's see here. The derivatives market alone, yes, 600 plus trillion. Think about that, guys. Jack Thompson's spot on. Shout out to you, Jack. Thank you for that. I didn't get a chance to see where the heck the super chat went. Let me see how much time I got. 19 minutes. I'll make it. I do want to recognize this real quick. And it's from the one and only Salamander, more JASMY, XRP, XDC, XLM, and LCX. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I really do appreciate each and every one of you guys. And I'm glad to also see that Will Fix made it to tonight's show. We want to say thank you on behalf of MaximusCrypto and all the other little MCs out there and so on, driving down the road or listen from your device. Thank you so much. We'll be back here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific for more MaximusCrypto. We'll see you on the next one. Over and out. Bye-bye.